You're listening to Revenge the Drive-In from the Grandma Sophia's Podcast Network. This is the podcast where we watch and discuss two movies randomly selected from a list of over 1,700 and discuss with the intention of determining whether or not this makes for a good drive-in double feature. We're interested in horror films, exploitation movies, and other similar genres. We do go into the plots in detail, so if you're concerned about spoilers, we encourage you to check out these movies before listening. Follow us on Twitter for any updates at Drive-In Podcast. And without much further ado, I'm your host Patrick, and I'm joined by...
My name is Feck, and I am a schlock historian? I don't know what I am, but I am qualified to be here, I think.
It sounds like it. I mean,
I've seen movies. I've seen a few movies.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that was...
Movies are a thing we've seen.
I've seen movies, and I think that's all I need to have done to be on this, right?
That's fair, yeah. Preferably, you've seen the two movies we're talking about. That's
I have. I'll tell you what, though, one of the movies we're talking about, I mean, don't know if I really even have words for it. I don't know if I should, get into that later.
I'm actually not sure which movie you're talking about. from that, I could see that working for either one.
I'll say that Grizzly, I couldn't find myself invested in Grizzly in general.
Oh no.
I honestly,
it's such an original and well-told story. How can you not?
Yeah, it's really very original. I love how original and unique it is. That was my favorite thing about it. I didn't dislike it, but I just couldn't really remember what happened as soon as it was over.
Okay. Well, have you seen Jaws?
I have seen Jaws.
Then you remember what happened in Grizzly. Just
yes,
transport that to the land.
I don't mind a good ripoff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm a big Italian 70s, 80s Italian movie fan, of course.
Yeah.
They had an entire genre of Escape from New York ripoffs, of Mad Max ripoffs, of Dawn of the Dead ripoffs. I'm a big Hell of the Living Dead fan. That movie's incredible.
I just think when it comes to Jaws ripoffs, like we were talking about the other day, Alligator. You got to see Alligator.
I do have to see Alligator.
That is the best. I mean, it's not as blatant a Jaws ripoff as this was, as Grizzly was, but it's still the same. I mean, it's a giant animal, and they're slowly trying.
Aquatic animal in this case, too.
It's basically the same thing. I just think Alligator's awesome. I don't know really what the difference is. I just enjoyed that one.
We might as well. Well, first off, we need to say which our two movies are. We've mentioned one of them. It's Grizzly, and it's Vice Academy.
Right, of course.
And Vice Academy is available on Tubi.
Yes.
And I say that, I mean, we're recording this well in advance of when the episode has been released, but I saw it on Tubi like 2 years ago.
Yes, Vice Academy has been on there for a really long time.
I have a feeling whoever the hell owns the rights to Vice Academy just doesn't care.
Yeah.
They're like, we're not profiting off of this. Let it be on Tubi.
I mean, I bet they make more money off just the ad revenue from Tubi than if they released it any other way.
Although it has a Blu-ray release, believe it or not.
I know it does.
Vinegar Syndrome, I think.
When did that come out?
Oh, I don't know. I was shocked to see that it existed because it's like, okay, this is sort of the kind of movie that would get like those companies that find your forgotten 80s Miami Connection or things like that. They'll just give those a Blu-ray release and kind of see what happens.
Yeah.
Except I can't imagine like Vice Academy
selling well,
having that kind of fandom,
I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that it's not just Vice Academy that they released. They released like the trilogy.
Oh, it's all 6. Yeah.
Wait.
Oh, well, there's 6 of them.
I know there's 6 of them, but I think there's like a release that I'm aware of that just was the first 3, which is even weirder.
Oh, so the Ginger
to me.
Lynn trilogy.
I guess.
I think Ginger Lynn's only in the first 3. I know Linnea Quigley's only in the first 2. She's replaced by Elizabeth Caton. Which, this is my hot take. That's an upgrade. I'm a big Elizabeth Caton fan. Nothing against Linnea, but Elizabeth Caton, Monique Gabrielle, if I'm looking for 80s, 90s B-movie stars, those are the two.
You can't go wrong either way, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And Linnea is certainly up there. She's vying for number 3 with Michelle Bauer for me.
Right.
I'm not as big a Brink Stevens fan.
I think Brink Stevens is good, though. I don't really.
She's arguably the best actress of that group.
That's probably true.
Linnea is a decent actress too. Linnea is not a bad actress.
It depends on the movie, though. Sometimes they don't really ask her to act. This isn't her best work.
Yeah, obviously.
I just looked it up. The Vinegar Syndrome one is just the first 3, which is weirder to me.
Okay, so
it's not even all of them.
No love for Elizabeth Caton, then. But I think she's in the 3rd one, but she might not come around until the 4th. I'm not sure.
No, I think she is in the 3rd one.
Okay, I have seen them all.
I looked at the cast lists for I didn't watch them all.
And I know at some point Mrs. Devonshire changes actress, but then the original actress comes back.
Yeah, it's the 3rd one. I looked that up because I was like, why is she not in the 3rd one? She's in every other one.
Yeah, it's...
I thought it was shocking that character comes back in every movie. But, I mean...
She sucks! She's the worst character. She's so obnoxious.
It's just funny that she even appears multiple times, but... Yeah.
Well, all right, well, I'm already at a loss for words, like you are in regards to Grizzly, but...
Yes.
Let's talk about Grizzly.
Okay, you start.
So Grizzly is a film that is actually near and dear to my heart. Now, is it the best movie ever? No. Is it the best bad movie ever? No. Mm-hmm. It's probably the first bad movie that I enjoyed as a kid. It kind of showed me, to a certain extent, kind of the power of B movies, of schlock films. And this asterisk on that, because this movie made $39 million at the box office.
Oh, really? Wow, that's kind of crazy.
It was successful.
Actually.
It was a big hit. It was the Legend of Boggy Creek of 1976.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
And I as a kid, I remember I was probably 7 or 8. We were at my grandparents' house, and we were kind of talking about, I don't even know if it was around Christmas, but we were talking about, like, who actually goes to see movies in the cinema on Christmas Day? Like, because obviously that's a thing. Movies are released on Christmas.
Right.
But I have never done it. I've never known someone to do it. And my dad mentioned, actually there was one movie I saw on Christmas when I was in high school.
Did that come out on
Grizzly.
Christmas?
Or
did he just see it on Christmas?
Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of movies were more staggered releases back then.
Yeah. I think the logic of releasing something on Christmas is that everyone has, like, off work.
Yes, that would make sense.
That has to be the only reason.
I'm also picturing James Cameron with, like, Titanic and Avatar, and then obviously now Star Wars, like the power of the December blockbuster as opposed to the summer blockbuster. I like to think the seeds were planted with this William Girdler film.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think so too. I think James Cameron was really inspired by Grizzly.
Why not? I mean, he did Piranha 2: The Spawning. I mean, if we're talking about
I know, and it's one of the greats.
Jaws ripoffs. But yeah, so anyways, we rushed out and we found that movie at my grandma's local family video. We watched it, and at the time, Jaws was probably my favorite movie. Mm-hmm. And I was shocked at how much of a ripoff it was, because I knew Jaws very well.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And years later, I had kind of forgotten about it. It had sort of been vaguely in my mind every now and then. I was reminded of it here and there. But then one time at a video store, probably about 4 years ago or so, mm-hmm. I stumbled upon it at Kingston Classic Video in Kingston, Ontario. Mm-hmm. And I watched it, and I mean, it wasn't as good or as funny as I remembered it. But here's the real takeaway here was I watched the little making of featurette / documentary, whatever you want to call it. And I listened to the audio commentary by Joan McCall, who plays the photographer, girlfriend / daughter of that one guy in this movie. And David Sheldon, who was one of the screenwriters, those two were married.
Okay, interesting.
And Joan McCall actually is more known as a writer than as an actress. She only has a few credits as an actress, whereas she's written hundreds of episodes of television, like soap opera, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think she might be an uncredited writer on Grizzly. I listened to this commentary track years ago. But the takeaways from the commentary track and from the making of, they gave me some answers. And but part of the reasons why it's such a blatant ripoff of Jaws, and it did come out in 1976, just the year after Jaws, was that a couple of screenwriters watched Jaws, and probably more importantly, watched Jaws' box office returns,
right?
And are we need to do this. There's going to be, Jaws is so big, there's going to be hundreds of these coming out in a few years,
right?
And they're like, we need to not only do this, we need to be the first to do it. We need to rush this movie out.
I see.
Because they were anticipating diminishing returns, which I'm sure was true. I don't think Piranha 2: The Spawning was a hit in 1981, 82,
Should have
whenever
been,
that
though.
was. But Piranha was a hit in 78.
Yeah.
The Great Alligator in 79, who knows? I don't know. That movie sucks.
Yeah,
but,
the movie is awful.
So it's like, okay, I'm starting to kind of get what they're doing. But the best part about the commentary track was David Sheldon, again, one of the co-writers, Joan McCall's husband, seemed very proud of the movie and seemed to almost like try and talk himself into like how good quality it was. And Joan McCall was kind of laughing at it. She's like, yeah, this shot sucks. Like this is
Oh no.
So like it was just a hilarious dynamic.
Yeah, you gotta
listening
love
to the
that.
two of them.
I do love a good commentary track that has that kind of energy. I remember listening to the Chud commentary like a year ago or something. Have you ever listened to that one?
Okay. No, did they have Daniel Stern on it? He's
Daniel
the only
Stern's
thing I
on
like
it.
about Chud.
All
Okay,
the
good.
leads are on it. The director's on it. I think it's like 4 guys, and they are just basically shit talking the movie the whole time.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is wonderful to know, because I don't like that movie that much.
They just are enjoying it so much, though. They're enjoying just shit talking it. It's a kind of a beautiful thing.
You know what the first audio commentary track I ever listened to for a movie was?
What?
MVP, Most Valuable Primate.
That's
I remember
crazy.
that vividly.
I
don't know why.
I think the
I don't know
first
why
one I
that was
watched-
the first directorial commentary track I listened to, but it was.
It's a unique pick. I think the first one I listened to was probably like Napoleon Dynamite or something. Just like something I had lying around or something.
Yeah.
And I remember
gotcha.
thinking this is pretty good, I guess.
Do you have a favorite commentary track?
Honestly, the Chud one's up there. I really like the commentary for Jacko. Do you know that movie?
Of course, with Linnea Quigley. Yeah.
You know the
that was going to be brought up at some point, I'm sure.
Do you know the commentary thing? Do you know what goes on in that?
No, I've only seen that movie on. I think I saw it on Showtime, not Prime. I was going to say Prime or Tubi, but
Forgot who directed that movie, but it's just him and Fred Olin Ray. And
did Fred Olin Ray even work on that movie?
I think he produced it or something.
Okay.
And basically, Fred Olin Ray is just like kind of like goofing on the movie. He's being like respectful to a degree, but he's also just like kind of goofing on it. And the director gets so mad at him and leaves. He gets up and
I need
leaves.
that Blu-ray now.
It's worth it just for that. He gets up and leaves, and then he comes back like 5 minutes later. Fred Olin Ray's just like kind of squirming, like trying to figure out how to do a commentary by himself.
Yeah, of course.
And then-
on a movie that he probably didn't have that much to
No.
do with, too.
And then the guy shows back up, and it's just like really sad, angry energy the whole time. I remember at one point, it was just like little innocent things. Like there was someone said like, why don't you lock that door? And then he gets up and doesn't lock the door or something like that. And Fred Olin Ray's like, that's funny that he doesn't lock the door. And the guy was like, well, you know what? I didn't have enough time to get that shot perfect. And
It's just like, don't take it personally,
Yeah,
dude. It's just
it
like,
was
we all know like certain things just. Certain
Yeah.
behaviors in movies just aren't what you do in real life. Like
Yeah,
doors
and-
are left open
Exactly.
in houses, and it's part of movies.
And
you know?
Fred Olin Ray was just like kind of treating it like that, like it was a fun thing. Like not that it was bad. He was saying that he liked it. He just thought like, you know, some of the dumb things that they
Right.
do is just fun.
I like that movie.
I liked it too.
Sort of.
But the director...
that movie's up your alley, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie. But the director just really... He was very defensive about it, and it was just a really fun commentary to listen to. That's all I have to say. Also, I love every John Waters commentary. Those are always good.
Well, John Waters is just I still haven't seen any of his movies, but he's just such a fun and interesting personality.
And that's the thing, you get like you can get most of his movies really cheap on DVD, and I get them just for the commentary. I don't really care about owning the movie in like the best quality or anything, just because it's just him riffing for like an hour and a half usually.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I saw his segments like from like the mid '90s when Joe Bob Briggs hosted Hairspray, you know, and he's just a fun person, funny person, so knowledgeable about film, but also just seems to have a genuine understanding that a lot of filmmakers don't. That there's life beyond movies, even though we all love movies and everything.
Yeah, he was touring with something called A Very John Waters Christmas like a couple years ago. And he came here, and I didn't know what it was, and I looked it up, and I wasn't really illuminated as to what it was. So I bought a ticket.
Okay.
I didn't know what it was, and I went there, and it was basically just like stand-up comedy. It was really weird. But I enjoyed it, so, that's my review of A Very John Waters Christmas.
All right, well, let's get to our review of Grizzly.
That was a great segue. This just tells you how much I retained from Grizzly.
Yeah, you'd rather talk about the Chud commentary.
Chud commentary is great.
Chud is understandable, but we got on Jacko. I mean,
yeah, well, look, it's a great commentary.
It's a great film too.
There's some highlights.
Great shower scene with Linnea Quigley.
Yeah, I recall the director saying that he hated that shot or something like that. Hated having it in the movie.
Oh, come on, the movie exists for that shot.
I think it was probably Fred Olin Ray though. You got to have this in the movie. You got Linnea Quigley. You got to have this.
Yeah. Yeah, it had to have been in Linnea Quigley's contract.
It's just really weird because it seemed like he really wanted to make a serious film, and that just...
It did?
I think...
Based on the commentary track.
Based on the commentary. It seems like the guy wanted to make like a really serious, masterpiece.
Because it's a horror comedy about a guy with a pumpkin head.
Yeah, exactly.
Slashing people. And for those of you listening that aren't following along, not exactly the 8.5 or La Dolce Vita levels of seriousness.
I think it goes hand in hand with those films.
Well, anyways.
Yeah, let's get into Grizzly.
Directed by William Girdler, who's he's an interesting guy. I think he's kind of the middle ground, the stepping stone from like the Herschel Gordon Lewis's to the Tobe Hoopers of the world.
I don't even know if I've heard of this guy.
Okay, listen, quality-wise, he's closer to Herschel Gordon Lewis. Let's be honest. He's not Tobe Hooper, but he made a movie called Three on a Meat Hook. 1972, 71, something like that. Not terrible, like complete no budget.
Right.
But at the same time, not terrible. And I don't know if Tobe Hooper had heard of it, but it seems like it's an influence on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's people getting stuck on meat hooks hanging down. I mean,
that fits the profile.
I don't know if... Yeah. So there's that's probably, of the movies I've seen by him, that's probably his best movie, like best quality. I also think it's his first movie, so it's like kind of nothing but downhill after that.
That's sad.
But he made his Exorcist ripoff in the Manitou, I think, or maybe it was Beyond the Door. I don't know. Beyond the Door is an Exorcist ripoff. The Manitou is an Exorcist ripoff. One of them's a Girdler film. So William Girdler was well acquainted with rip-off films, with kind of exploitation films, but at the same time, with Grizzly anyways, and even his sort of spiritual sequel, Day of the Animals, he seemed to be going for a more PG kind of vibe. I mean, this movie's actually pretty violent. There's a few scenes here where it's like...
arm gets thrown off.
The leg. Well, yeah, the first thing we see is the arm. I love how easily the arm comes off. It's
that's awesome.
It's like I didn't realize our limbs were perforated.
No, but apparently they are.
Anyway, so Grizzly opens on a sort of a bittersweet note because we get a lot of helicopter photography. It opens like a big movie. I think you would agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
It's sad because William Girdler passed away in a helicopter crash years later when he was like making a movie, scouting locations for a movie.
Wow, that's crazy.
This would be like if an episode of Frasier took place at the World Trade Centers.
Oh, God. Hold on. First of all, you're going to get on me for bringing up Jacko. You brought up the Frasier Day 9/11 thing.
Why not? Well, no. I mean, yes, Frasier Crane Day was September 11th. We all know that. But one of the creators of Frasier was on one of the planes that went into... You knew that too, okay.
Yeah, that's crazy, but...
Yes.
I just wasn't expecting to get into that.
Frasier Crane Day is September 11th, for those of you that were not familiar.
Well, it's not anymore, though, is it?
Well, I don't know if
they don't celebrate it anymore.
Recognized by the federal government?
It should be. They should
just make it
the 12th. Why was it the 11th to begin
the 10th and the 12th. It's like the Frasier Crane
They should just make it the whole month.
Yeah. So, yes. So we get a lot of helicopter stuff of the character Don, played by Andrew Prine, who I think he's the main cop in The Town That Dreaded Sundown. I know I've seen him in something. But he's a very 70s looking person. Every person in this movie is the most 70s person ever, right?
Yes. That's without a doubt.
Lots of denim, lots of bell bottoms.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah, I know, I like it. And so we get these fantastic aerials. He's a Vietnam veteran, Don is, but he's working as like a tour guide over this national park that goes unnamed, I believe, for the entire movie.
Yeah, I don't remember them saying it at any point.
Clearly going for like a Yellowstone kind of vibe. I mean, it seems huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I live in the part of the country where there's nothing worth looking at, so there's no national parks anywhere near me. So right. I guess I don't know how big national parks are, but...
I mean, this one's definitely big. Some of them are huge.
Well, Yellowstone's huge, obviously.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of mentioned that, but...
Do they even say what, like, state this takes place in?
I noticed at the end credits said, like, we thank the state of Georgia or something, but I don't think they say that in the movie. And, I mean, they do acknowledge, like, that it's normal to have bears where they are, but it's not normal to have this type of bear.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if grizzlies are around Yellowstone.
Who knows?
If they are, then this isn't... Maybe I mean, are bears in Georgia? Like, maybe not just giant bears?
I don't know. I'm a schlock historian, not a bear historian.
Yeah, bears that walk on two legs and occasionally show up as costumed actors.
Yeah, I think that
exist in Georgia?
Yeah. They're quite common there.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. I think you should be apologizing more to the audience.
Well, I should apologize probably for our movie choice. I mean, the average person listening to this is going to be like, Grizzly? Vice Academy? Like, I'd rather hear you guys talk about Hellbound, Hellraiser 2.
It's the perfect pairing, though. Grizzly,
these two movies together?
Yeah, of course.
I was thinking about this because our pairings, I mean, we do select things at random.
Yeah.
But our pairings tend to be, I don't want to say A movie and B movie, but like a relatively well-known, maybe a classic or at least a popular movie.
Right.
And then some kind of like weird exploitation-y kind of movie, like, you know, Halloween, House by the Cemetery. House by the Cemetery is well-known to horror fans.
Right.
But to anyone that isn't a hardcore horror fan, that's like the most disgusting movie ever, you know?
And it's actually funny because I had the opposite experience with this because I had never even heard of Grizzly. But
Grizzly was a hit.
I know. I believe it. I just didn't know it, but I'd been wanting to watch Vice Academy for a long time.
So you were familiar with it, okay?
Yeah, so I had the opposite interaction.
You might be the only person on Earth
who wanted to watch Vice Academy.
Who had heard of it even. I really think that. I think if you ask Linnea Quigley's like family members, they'd be like, Vice Academy? What is that?
If you asked her family members about half the movie she was in,
that's true. They wouldn't know about Jacko. She's kept that from them.
You think they remember the horror workout?
Well, that one you have to. She invented a new genre.
Yeah.
The zombie workout tape. That's a genre of one.
It's hugely important. I agree.
Yes. Anyways, after the helicopter stuff, we meet a couple more of our main characters. We meet 3 characters here. 2 of them are main characters, and 1 just is here. But we've got photographer lady played by Joan McCall.
Right.
Her name is Allison. And she's sort of an item, I guess, with Kelly, the Christopher George from Pieces, the greatest film ever.
It's a great film. I agree.
It's an incredible movie. It's better than Grizzly.
I mean, I have to.
But anyways, yeah. So Kelly is like the ranger, park warden, I think is the term that they use. But there's someone above him who owns the national park or something. I'm never clear of the...
Yeah, I didn't get the
bureaucracy
of it, but
yes, well, and this when we meet these characters too, we think politics and this kind of thing is going to be important because Allison's talking to her dad, who owns the lodge, like the hotel.
Yeah,
and she's like, "Hey, we've got a lot of bills we've got to pay. You're ordering
she's like
too
grilling
much
him on
expensive wine."
Yeah, she's like grilling him on how much he charges for stuff.
And that comes up absolutely 0 times later on.
Right.
So, I mean, like, I don't know why this is how we introduce these characters. I don't even remember her dad coming back.
I don't think he does. All I remember
he does. It's a weird thing.
Is she does that, and then I think Kelly walks in and says, "You should write a how-to book. How to not be on time," or something like that.
Oh, yeah. They have a fun relationship.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So much that I'm not even sure they're dating. They're just like friends, maybe. I don't know.
It's so
not
fun,
a lot of sexual chemistry there with it.
Yeah.
Well, Christopher George, I mean, he's married to Linda Day, obviously, who's also in Pieces, the greatest movie ever made.
Best movie ever made.
Also, the 2 of them are in The Day of the Animals, the spiritual sequel to Grizzly.
Seems like I gotta see that one now.
Leslie Nielsen also in it.
Leslie Nielsen's in that?
All-star cast. You know what movie has an even bigger cast than either The Day of the Animals or Grizzly or Vice Academy, for that matter, or even Vice Academy 3?
What?
Grizzly 2.
There's a Grizzly 2? Oh my God.
I'm actually surprised you haven't heard of this. I wanted to say it was big news like a year ago. It wasn't. None of this is big news.
Oh, I have heard about that.
Grizzly 2 was a film that
it's like just now coming out,
finished but never released. I think that's, and it would have been made probably in like 84.
Oh my God,
it would have been 83, 84.
I can't believe that I knew about that and didn't remember until just you saying it just now.
Yeah, I think it's got a subtitle. I'm tempted to call it Grizzly 2: The Spawning.
I think it's like,
because that just sounds good.
I think
Grizzly
it's like
2: The Revenge
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like the most generic title.
Okay,
Grizzly 2 Awakenings. I don't know.
Can I see if I remember off the top of my head who's in this?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. 3 all-time A-listers.
Yeah, I seem to recall Charlie Sheen being in this movie.
Positively.
And then I'm pretty sure it's Laura Dern and
George pre-Blue Velvet. George Clooney, pre-Return to Horror High, George Clooney. I mean, this is...
What the hell?
Probably post Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes, pre-Return to Horror High, George Clooney. Pre-Platoon, Charlie Sheen. Pre-HIV, Charlie Sheen.
But did it finally come out? Like, did it end up
his
coming
HIV diagnosis?
No. Well, yeah, that too.
No, because that was a big story. But no, I looked it up on IMDb, and it says 2020. So I think it did get some kind of Blu-ray or something. I don't know. I'm actually not that interested in it. There's no Girdler. You know,
right.
I mean, Grizzly is it's Girdler's picture, really. So
Who directed it?
I don't know. Some guy.
Okay. Just some
name withhold upon request, probably. I mean, that's probably why it wasn't released.
It's an Alan. What was the Alan?
Yeah, it's got to be an Alan Smithy.
Alan Smithy. That's
right?
it. Yeah, it has to be.
He directed my favorite Hellraiser film.
Which one?
Bloodline.
Wait, that was an Alan Smithy movie?
that is the most mainstream Alan Smithy.
You're telling
film
me that's
I'm
an Alan
with.
Smithy joint? I didn't even know. I honestly really liked that movie, but that's neither here nor there, I suppose.
I can count the amount of Hellraiser films I like on one finger, I think.
I can count them on
not
5.
A Hellraiser fan.
5 or 6.
Well, it's batting 500. That's not bad.
I know. I think the first 5 are good. Then I like the 8th one, even though it's really
actually,
bad.
I like Hell on Earth. 3 is pretty good.
So you don't like the second one?
I'm not a fan of it. It's basically because the first one I enjoy, but the plot is a nightmare. And I don't mean like horror movies feel like nightmares. Yeah, that's good. But I mean it's a nightmare to follow. Hellbound is that.
No,
yeah,
the second one is
weird
definitely
plot.
Hard to follow. I agree.
Exactly. To me, it's even it accentuates the things I don't like about the first one while giving me very little of what I liked about the first.
Again,
one.
going off topic, but I think
yes.
the beauty of those two is that the first one is so minimalist, and the second one is like the most maximalist movie I can think of.
Okay. And I like Hellraiser 3 because it's just pure schlock. That's a slasher movie. Like we don't even care. And that's kind of like the one based on like the computer game.
Yeah,
is that
like the 8th one.
That
that's
one.
The other
is
one
fun
I like
too. Yeah, that one,
I like the
first
first 5,
fun.
and then I like the 8th one, and that's about it. And I don't love the 8th one, but you gotta like.
No, it's. I mean, it's Lance Henriksen.
Yeah, exactly.
Bringing everyone to a house party to kill them. I mean, that's pretty fun.
He directed the 8th one?
No, Lance Henriksen's just in it.
He's in it. Oh, right.
Alan Smithy directed Bloodline. Adam Smithy directed the Adam Scott one.
Yeah. No, I remember Bloodline. Trust me. I remember Adam Scott in that one. Trust me. He like basically a vampire or something.
Yeah, that's his first feature film, right?
I believe it. I've never seen him talk about it.
Did you know that I shouldn't say I ran into, but even saying I met him would be too strong. But I saw Paul Rudd on Broadway in the play Grace, and I got Paul Rudd's autograph after seeing Grace, and I specifically got it for my mother because my mother I thought liked Paul Rudd, and then when I gave it to her, she's like, "Who's Paul Rudd again?" And I'm like,
that's awesome.
But anyways, when I got his autograph, I said to him like, "Hey, I really enjoyed you in Halloween 6."
I was hoping you were going to say that.
And he kind of laughed about it, and then I think he said something along the lines of "Thank God for Clueless" or something, because those were his 2 theatrical releases in 1995, and one set him up as the comedic actor that we came to love, and the other was The Halloween 6 was the original release the Snyder cut, wasn't it?
I think so. It was definitely a big deal because the director's cut is better, in my opinion, at least.
Yes. You can say, polishing a turd if you want, but it's a better movie. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really say many great things about that movie, but I did, it was all right.
Well, I guess actually Superman 2 is probably the original release the Snyder cut.
Was it? I didn't even know about that one.
The final film's directed by Richard Lester, but the guy who did the original movie, the Lethal Weapon guy, did most of that movie.
Wait, the Lethal Weapon guy.
Donner, Jeffrey
Donner. Jeffrey Donner.
Donner.
Richard Donner.
Richard Donner, yes. Jeffrey Donner directed Superman.
That's what he was known for, actually, I think. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I knew that Richard Donner did... Didn't he do the first one?
Yeah, he did that. He did Lethal Weapon. I think he did the entire Lethal Weapon series.
He did do all those. For sure.
Yeah.
He did Goonies. He did those 4 Lethal Weapons.
So, after we meet many of our main characters...
We're still meeting them.
After we've met them.
Right.
We see 2 very 70s looking young women. They're walking around. They get scared by a cop on a horse. Mm-hmm. In a very, very slapped together, false jump scare, Jonesy the cat jumping out at Harry Dean Stanton kind of thing. It's very poorly put together. Mm-hmm. And then they get attacked by the bear. Now, first off, we get a lot of bear POV here.
Yeah, that's true.
Very original Friday the 13th, or very opening scene of Halloween, or very Peeping Tom, the Michael Powell film. Or the opening scene of Puppet Master.
I was about to say the Puppet Master scene comes to mind.
Yeah, with Blade running around. Yeah, so very similar to that.
I mean, that's the most memorable scene from that first one, probably.
I like when they're killing the bad guy and it takes them 20 minutes to saw off his feet and stuff. I like that scene.
I mean, I like that movie. I'm just saying, when I think of that first one, that's the first thing I think of is little Blade.
First thing I think of is the Barbara Crampton scene, actually. But
well, that's true. I do think about that too.
But I want to focus on the POV for a minute here, because based on the POV that we see from the bear is walking on 2 legs. It has to be, because it's a good 15 feet off the ground, the POV is.
Okay.
We do see later on that the bear walks on 2 legs for an extended period of time, because this is a trained bear, trained to some extent. I mean, I don't think you can train a bear like you can train your wife, but, it's a bear. It's a bear's named Teddy, of course, because if you own a bear, what else are you going to name it?
Okay. Is that his real name?
I mean, I don't know if it was given to him, by his parents, or it's his adopted name. It's his slave name.
Okay, interesting.
So Teddy is great. He's the most compelling performer in this movie, except for maybe the guy in the bear suit.
I like the guy, I forgot his name already, the guy who wears the hat the whole time. Who's
is that the helicopter pilot? Or no, he doesn't.
No, the guy lives off the land, who knows.
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah,
you're a Hooper fan.
Yeah,
okay.
The Richard Dreyfuss type.
Yes,
I like
Richard Jekyll, I think is the actor's name.
Wow, that's interesting.
Who, by the way, won an Academy Award a few years before making this movie. So
for what? Do you know?
Sometimes a Great Notion, which I've never heard of.
Yeah, I've never heard of that either, but. It's great. I'm glad he won.
Again, the POV, so we get our first indication, our first bear attack sucks because we're worried about, oh no, it's just going to be a POV and we're going to see someone with a fuzzy arm swinging it around. Mm-hmm. Although, again, the first swing, an arm comes off, which is pretty great.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's
worth the price of admission.
The movie. It catches you off guard. You're like, oh my God, this is how we're starting. But the scene kind of sucks because it's not, there's nothing connecting the bear with what's actually going on, which, I mean, to be fair, is very Jaws-like.
Right.
Because Jaws, the whole thing is you don't see the shark until halfway through.
I feel like it's just most creature feature movies where you don't see it till the movie's almost over. Not in this case, but that is the case a lot of the time.
Right. No, and we do get, I mean, for a while you do not think they're using a real bear because we get these lazy Betsy Palmer shots of someone walking through the woods on stilts, which might actually be how they accomplish those. That wouldn't shock me. But eventually we get full bear. And when we see it walking, the camera is really tight on the bear because they don't want you to be able to compare it to anything for scale.
Yeah.
And realize that this is actually about a 6-foot tall bear and not a 15-foot tall bear, which is great.
Yeah, real Gila monster situation.
Oh, the giant Gila monster.
Where it's like clearly not big at all, but then they build the set for it.
Oh yeah, no, I like even like just ignoring that. Obviously, the bear isn't a giant, Godzilla bear. I like that the guy in the bear costume. That bear costume is huge.
Right.
That probably is 15 feet, but we only see it for a brief second or two here and there. It's just like they scatter it, they mix it in really nicely. It's good filmmaking because, if you have too long a shot on the bear costume, you're going to say, oh my God, that's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But when they sprinkle it in like they do here, you say, oh my God, that's ridiculous. But hey, we're already on to the next shot. Like, it's not a big deal.
So what you're saying is the guy in the suit has to be 15 feet tall.
I think they got Manute Ball on Andre the Giant's shoulders for the bear suit.
Understood. So have we even met the Richard Dreyfuss type yet?
No, yes, we're getting to this. I'm sorry. This is on me, folks.
No. I'm just excited for his appearance.
Right. No, but anyways, we got to conclude the first attack because one of the girls is killed and the other one runs into this like work shed, or it's just this wooden building. It's the type of building that Abe Lincoln grew up in. Mm-hmm. And she gets inside and then, the roof starts tearing down and we get a little bear arm come and give her the reach around.
Right.
And then, so the park rangers are figuring out, like, okay, hey, we had 2 hikers that we haven't seen yet, so we got to go looking for them. And so it's Kelly, the head park warden, his photographer girlfriend, and then that other guy that gave them the jump scare earlier. They go searching, and they find the cabin. It takes them way too long to discover that the cabin's been torn apart. Like, I don't know what angle they approach it from.
There's really no way that it could make sense.
But no, it really can't. But they're like they're coming over to it, and they're like, I wonder if the door's locked. And I'm thinking, it's open out back.
Yeah.
Like, there is no back. Just go there. Just move 2 feet to your left, and you'll see. Whereas they find the body. The body's, like, hanging up, isn't it? It's something like that.
I think it is, like...
It's a real, like,
I don't remember.
Like a Jason Voorhees, like, rearranging of the body kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then, but they don't find the other girl, and they find her at night when photographer lady slips in like some blood, and so they discover that, okay, the bears are burying their food.
Right.
And this is one of several weird things about this. A, bears don't attack and eat people, generally speaking.
Right.
That's weird thing number 1. Weird thing number 2 is... Well, I don't know if this is a weird thing, because I don't know about bears. I'm not like you. I'm not a bear historian. I don't know if they bury their prey.
Well, they say in the movie that they do, and I mean,
yes,
I take that authority.
And you trust Richard Jekyll.
Yeah, I think Jekyll. I think Girdler. I mean, he knows what he's talking about.
Girdler, yeah.
This guy I've heard of
it's
just
such
now
a fun
today.
Name, William Girdler.
I'm sure they had a bear expert on set all times.
Well, they at the very least they had a bear trainer,
or they could have just asked the bear.
Well, if this movie were Italian,
right?
The ending would be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. Because they probably would have blown up an actual bear. Spoilers. But B, this would have been like, this bear would not have been trained. There would have had 0 safety precautions. It would have been Roar.
Oh, God.
It would have been Roar, but with a bear. And that would be a movie I would want to see.
Roar with a bear?
Well, yeah, I mean, like an untrained bear, like an Italian...
You want an untrained bear to attack Richard Jekyll, or whatever his name is?
I mean, maybe, but, like, I'm thinking, like, the insanity of having some guy wrestle a shark underwater in Zombie 2. I'm thinking about that kind of thing.
That's so just unbeatable, though.
That is maybe the most incredible scene in motion picture history. I mean,
agree.
That up there, as far as like scenes that just make you feel the true magic of cinema, that's up there with Elliot's bike flying for the first time in E.T.
That's great. And then also, bastards in pieces.
Bastards? Oh, it's the line?
When she keeps saying bastards.
I was going to say the Kung Fu Professor in pieces.
Well, that's a good scene too, but...
That is so great. Or the moving glass scene too.
There's really just a lot of great scenes in that movie, but
yes,
I was just trying to tie it back in.
Right. So you bastards. No, but awesome. Just the idea that someone has a kung fu professor, I mean, that to me, and then that he was acting the way he was because he had bad sushi or something, bad like wonton. I don't.
It was definitely like a questionable scene in the movie, but you just kind of had to roll with it.
That describes the movie in general pieces.
Yeah, but I still feel like that was unexpected, even for that movie. That scene where he just
that's true. Out. Yeah, that is something that stands out even in a
movie like that.
It's like the scene in Mulholland Drive when like the little people start chasing after her and become bigger. Like I wasn't expecting that.
I thought you were gonna say like when the thing appears behind the diner. That's kind of a crazy scene.
That might be the only scene. Because I've seen so many horror movies and everything, that may be the only scene that still scares me.
It is terrifying. I don't know why it's so effective, but that as a jump scare, it really works.
It's entire thing, and that's Bonnie Aarons, aka the nun from the Conjuring spin-off movie.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, just she plays an excellent monster. Let's put it that way. or hobo in this case. He's not even a monster. I don't know what he is.
You gotta love someone who just kind of falls into playing monsters. I'm looking at you, Michael Berryman.
I was about to say Michael Berryman. Clint Howard, although...
Clint Howard's awesome, too.
Clint Howard, not necessarily monsters, just weirdos.
Yeah, Clint's worse, honestly, because he plays like totally normal humans who are just completely messed up.
Because Clint... with his misshapen head, kind of passes for like a Michael Berryman type.
Yeah.
Like someone that belongs in the
He's an in-between.
But he also passes as potentially a normal person, if you will. Yeah, so he's a liminal actor. He exists in a liminal space.
I agree. I just watched Ice Cream Man like the day before yesterday.
Clint Howard, of course, from the television series Gentle Ben, where he befriends a bear.
So that you should have had 70s.
Him on. We should have. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to hang up on you and call
Clint
Howard and Clint Howard. Tell me about your bear experience.
Well, when I was talking to that bear, I don't know what else he would say. But...
I love it. Imagine being such a weird-looking person that as a 4-year-old kid, you get the call like, "Hey, we want you to play an alien in this stupid show, Star Trek." Like, what do you like? I mean, you're 4 years old. You're not going to say no.
But even before that, he played that kid in the Andy Griffith Show who ate PB&J all the time.
I guess that's not surprising that he's on that. I didn't know that, though.
Yeah, he's been in it since age 2 or 3 or something like that. And God bless him.
Yeah, Well, I mean, he's a fantastic actor. I mean, I will say that half joking. He actually is talented.
No, he's great. Because
he'll never get like a normal role because he is so weird looking.
But I don't even want him to get a normal
thing. Yeah. No, you don't, because he's so good at what he does. But like Michael Berryman is a very good actor, could play a perfectly normal person if he only looked differently, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's like, to a lesser extent, like Kathy Bates. Like, she'll never get the quality of roles that someone like Julia Roberts would have gotten in the 90s, or like these other pretty actresses, because she's not particularly attractive, but she's a fantastic actress. She's just as good as any of them,
of course. And at the end of the day, like, say what you will about Ice Cream Man,
Kathy Bates could have been in Jacko.
Kathy Bates should have been in Jacko.
Yeah.
I would have loved to hear her on the commentary track. Clint Howard carried Ice Cream Man is all I was going to say.
Yes. I mean, I'll say he carried it in a very, it probably should have been double bagged. It wasn't. He barely made it up the step before it collapsed. That's to me
You're doing him a disservice.
Well, here's the thing about Ice Cream Man. Why cast total babe Olivia Hussey, who even in her like middle age is a beautiful woman? Why cast her to play an old lady who,
no, I don't understand
brief flashback, she doesn't have old age makeup on? What is that?
Couldn't even tell you. Honestly, it doesn't seem like she has old age makeup on in her normal scenes where she's old.
You're right. There's just a tiny bit. It's
no, there are a lot of questionable things about that movie. Like, why does everyone acknowledge that he grows great flowers when they're obviously just like metal? Things
that's right. Like, and also, why does the ice cream look like it's mashed potatoes? I mean, we know the answer to that one because it literally was. Yes, but
but at the end of the day, my point is, all these things aside, Clint Howard carried that movie. It wouldn't be half as good without Clint Howard.
Yeah, I agree. It wouldn't be half as good. We disagree on the point of just how good the end result is, I guess. I mean, I think it's an okay movie.
But I don't think it would be even an okay movie without Clint Howard.
No, that's true. I mean, it would be Jack Frost without Clint Howard.
That's right, exactly.
William Girdler, the man himself.
Mm-hmm. Great transition.
The director of Sheba Baby, the blaxploitation movie, I believe, with Pam Grier. We all love Pam Grier.
Okay, that's a good...
Pam Grier plays the person in the bear suit in this movie.
Yeah,
fantastic
that's what I've
performance.
Heard. They thought it was weird for the bear to have breasts, but Girdler had a vision.
Yeah, that's where all the height came from. They had her on her back.
Yeah, that's Girdler for you.
You know, if you need someone to reinvent the wheel, Girdler's your guy.
He's an eccentric, but he gets results.
Just not when he's in a helicopter.
No, apparently not.
I don't know if he was the pilot. He probably wasn't.
Well, is that better?
I don't know. I mean, can you imagine like being the passenger in a like you were just the entire time like you're spinning out of control. You're just like looking at the guy just like shaking your head like Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but if you're the passenger, then that means there's at least another person in the helicopter. If he's flying it, he could be the only one in there.
That's true. Yeah, it could be the John Denver scenario.
Exactly. As relevant a reference as always.
Didn't John Denver die in a plane that he invented, or that he created himself? Invented, probably not the right word, but it's like
he invented the plane, I think.
Yeah, no, it was like one of those Da Vinci proto airplane things.
I know Harrison Ford crashed one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
lived. He crashed one and had no scratch on it.
I remember when that happened, they were because that was around the time I think The Force Awakens was going to come out, and there were so many people were like, oh no, what would this trilogy be with? And I'm like, there's a 75-year-old man who was seriously injured, and you're like, oh my god, I need my 15th Star Wars movie to be okay.
And then, I mean...
And he died in the next one anyway. I was about to say,
spoiler alert, doesn't even matter.
Although he did show up in the third one in that trilogy
for
some...
Yeah, was he like a Force ghost or something?
I think he's in a dream. They do a Sopranos, the test dream kind of thing.
That's awesome. Yeah,
except by not good.
Yeah, I have no real plans on seeing that movie anytime soon.
Well, speaking of not good, Grizzly then proceeds, after this after we have all this information, Kelly, again, Christopher George.
Right.
Wants to go and contact their naturalist, their bear expert. He's just a nature expert. He's a nature guy.
Right.
He lives in the woods with a herd of deer, a pack of deer or whatever. He's got deer. He's got a deer carcass on him. It's
I mean,
questionable wardrobe.
When we're introduced to him, he's about to shoot some deer, right?
I thought he was, but he was also upset that they made the deer scatter because he was I was living with them. I don't think he was shooting anything. Oh. I don't think he does shoot things.
But he had a gun.
Well, but that's, he's driven to that because a little child's leg is ripped off.
Well,
spoilers.
I misread that scene then. I thought he was going to kill them. Those deer.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I think he's the grizzly man, but just with deer.
Okay.
Moment. Anyways, they contact him and they say, hey, we've got a bear issue. And he's like, okay. And then eventually he goes off and does his own little discovery, and they find him. They actually think he is the bear because he's wearing that stupid outfit. They find him by helicopter. It's Don and it's Kelly. So it's Quint and it's Brody in that order. And they find their little hooper here, played by Richard Jekyll.
The great Richard Jekyll. You probably know him from that movie
Richard
he won an Oscar for.
They talk to him, and there's this stupid, something about this bear is prehistoric. It's I don't know what they're doing here.
Was that scene where he's this is a 1,000,000-year-old bear or something?
Yeah. It's just a big bear. Do we need it to be, prehistoric? You might, if you're going to go that stupid, you might as well bring in nuclear radiation and have it just be a Godzilla bear, right?
Well, yeah, that would be beautiful.
Well, I mean, I don't mean it's literally Godzilla size, but I mean, just say this was a nuclear test site near Yellowstone years ago, and it looked like it affected only one bear. You might as well go that dumb. But Girdler keeps it a bit classier than that. A bit.
You know Girdler.
Until the 4-year-old kid is brutally murdered at the fair, of course. Then we exit the classy, and we realize, oh, this is the guy that did 3 on a Meat Hook. That's right. Girdler is an exploitation. He's from the Herschel Gordon Lewis school.
He's a class act.
Yes, yeah, Girdler's great. And so The park, again, the head of the park, we mentioned we're not really familiar with the politics of this state park, or national park, but the guy, the Murray Hamilton character, the mayor from Jaws
like a head
type guy.
honcho for sure.
Yes.
He wants a seat up at Washington.
Yeah, Washington, Georgia, or whatever, yeah. He brings in some hunters, and they're like, hey, we got to catch this bear. And I think this is after the bear attacks a campsite at night, because they evacuate, like, the upper levels of the park, but not the park itself.
Yeah.
Which seems like not a great idea, really, in hindsight. I mean, you can say, hindsight 50-50, but... Or 50-50, it's 2020.
Yeah, hindsight's 50. It can go either way.
Hindsight is 50-50. We don't know what's going to happen. Could go this way. Could go...
Hindsight's 90 minutes. That's what Girdler says. Girdler always finished his sentences by saying, that's what Girdler says.
I mean, if you have a name like that, you got to incorporate some third person.
Yeah. He's always like, hey, but they don't pay Girdler for his opinions.
Girdler, it sounds like someone who girdles someone. Like, it sounds like it'd be like a term used to describe a criminal, like a girdle. If you girdle a woman, your special victims unit is after you or something.
I think there should maybe be a movie
or
called
the Vice Squad is after you.
Oh, finally, we can combine these two movies by having a girdler involved.
I think I'm just thinking of burglar because it sounds a little bit like that.
It's someone who forcibly puts a girdle on somebody.
Yeah, there you go. Anyways, William Girdler, the beautiful man that he was, and I wish I could say is, but again, 1983, tragic.
It's sad. I've only just heard of him, and he's taken away from me so soon.
Well, I mean, even if you're not a big Grizzly fan, you got to at least appreciate the kind of... sleaze sleaze only describes half of it. There is a sleaze to the filmmaking here.
You gotta dig Girdler.
There's sleaze to the filmmaking in terms of, hey, we're ripping off this popular thing. There's sleaze to the filmmaking in that, hey, we're going to attack a 4-year-old kid and rip his leg off.
Right.
But there's like a wholesomeness to it, too. I mean, right down to this John Williams ripoff score at times.
Well, like you said, Girdler keeps it classy.
Yeah, no, I mean, this was really, and it worked. I mean, it didn't work to like advance
Jaws
him
level.
into the careers of the Spielbergs and the John Carpenters of the world, but this was a hit. Mm-hmm. And I do think, I mean, Jaws is itself, and we're talking about Jaws like it's this, I mean, Jaws is a classic, but it's a classic example of a B movie that's done by an A movie filmmaker, A-level filmmaker, A-level budget actors, good cast, It's like Jaws, it's The Birds, and it's Halloween, I think, which Halloween, granted, that's not an A-movie budget, but that's A-movie execution.
Jaws is psycho, and Grizzly is homicidal.
I was going to say Maniac Cop 3.
Well, honestly, there's many movies that could be, but that's a specifically like,
no, Jaws is psycho, Grizzly is Gus Van Sant's psycho.
They should have got Vince Vaughn to play the bear.
So after, when they're bringing in the hunters, and after the campsite has been attacked, and we don't see the bear. We get woman who gets like pulled up, and she's like hanging up. There's blood on, someone smeared ketchup on her face. Mm-hmm. There's a discussion about how this isn't normal bear behavior. The bear's eating his victims, even though he's not. We're finding nearly full bodies every time.
Right.
Which is just a bizarre decision, in terms of the editing.
Girdler kept it classy. He didn't want to show mangled bodies, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess, but at the same time, the first thing we see is an arm flying through the air, very suburban Sasquatch-like. Except we had more than one prop in this movie, so that's a good sign. But sometime after this, so the hunters are around, and then again, if you're thinking of like, okay, what scene is this from Jaws? Oh, right, it's the scene where all those fishermen go out drunkenly throwing dynamite into the ocean, trying to take down the shark. Same thing here, no dynamite, but they do something equally dumb, where there's like 3 guys. I think they all have beards. They all feel like they should have beards if they don't. Yeah. A bear comes up to them, and he's a little friendly black bear. Or, it's black in color. I don't know if it's actually a black bear. Not a bear expert.
Right.
And it's a friendly bear, and they refer to it as a cub, even though it's not. It's just not a huge bear. Uh-huh. At least I don't think it's a cub. I mean, first of all, if it's a cub, you should run the hell away, because bear mothers are incredibly violent.
Right.
And will protect. If William Girdler was the son of a bear, and that bear was in that helicopter, it would not have crashed.
Well, you don't know that Girdler wasn't the son of a bear.
That's technically true. Yeah, deduction...
You can deduct, but can you prove?
Girdler does sound like a good name for a bear. I'll give you that.
I know.
So does Alan Smithy, though.
That's true.
Meet Alan the bear.
I think Teddy could have been Girdler's brother.
Okay, I'm seeing it, which is why he blows him up with a bazooka.
Well, yeah.
Again, in the Italian version of this film, or the Sean S. Cunningham version of this film, perhaps.
Right, of course.
So one of my favorite scenes in the movie is these three bearded hunters are like, hey, this isn't the bear we're looking for. This is a friendly cub. And then one of them's like, hey, we can use it as bait. Because they think, I guess they think the killer bear is the father or mother of this thing. And so it's going to come looking for them. Right. So they tie it up and we get, again, the POV. And it's moving closer and closer to the face. And then in one of my favorite, perfect comedic timing edit, it just edits and it's back to Christopher George. And he's like, now whose idea was it to use the bear as bait anyway? it's perfect comedic timing.
That was a good part.
And that's the Girdler touch, really. I mean, mixing in humor when you don't expect it.
You wouldn't get that
whether or not it's intentional.
You call Girdler when you want something like that. He's a fix-it guy.
The Girdler magic.
He's like the
Girdler's
wolf.
got the magic touch. Yeah, the one with Pulp Fiction, yeah.
Yeah, he shows up on someone else's set to be like, all right, what's the problem? Oh, you need some comedic timing? Okay, here we go.
So sometime after this, we get our Indianapolis scene. And it's actually amazing that, because a lot of the stuff that you take from Jaws, it's basic structural stuff like what you were talking about. Any creature feature, you hold off the reveal of the creature for as long as possible. I mean, Chud, you don't see a monster until the last 5 seconds of that movie.
Yeah,
for instance.
It's true.
So any kind of creature feature, really, I mean, Invaders from Mars, you don't see the 50s one. Or no, excuse me, I'm thinking of It Came From Beyond the Space. You don't see a monster until the last minute of that movie, and the monster's terrible, but it's okay because the first 78 minutes are pretty good, But
in the 80s Invaders from Mars, you get to see that Krang ripoff guy.
Yeah, that's
actually,
right,
I think it predates Krang, maybe. I don't know.
So we're talking Tobe Hooper again, the possibly influenced heavily by William Girdler.
That should be a spin-off podcast. Talking Toby.
Or I always want to call him Tobe when I see the name.
Yeah, I don't...
That is the only instance of that Toby that I've ever seen.
I don't like how it's spelled.
Yeah, so anyways, okay. So, but of all the scenes that you would not expect to see in a Jaws ripoff, I think probably the biggest one is the Indianapolis scene because that's so specific to Jaws.
Right.
And it doesn't provide a whole lot in terms of story structure.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, technically speaking, you could remove that scene from Jaws, and not a whole lot would have changed. You just would have lost a very, very good scene, arguably the best scene of the movie. But, I mean, nothing is hard to follow, nothing, changes in that sense.
Right.
But somehow we still go for the Indianapolis scene, and supposedly this scene, or this dialogue, this little speech that Andrew Prine gives, according to IMDb, it's written by Andrew Prine. So I don't know if he's just going complete improv or if he actually sat down and wrote the scene. I like to think that the camera was just rolling and Andrew Prine had just seen Jaws the night before and he's like, oh shoot, how do I make this into a bear story? And it's some story about is he there? Or there's a tribe of Native Americans and they get attacked by a herd of bears, which I don't think bears have herds, but whatever.
I don't think so either. But
this scene's written by Andrew Prine. It's not written by a bear expert.
But you don't know. Prine might be an expert.
That's true. He could be.
I mean, when you're around Girdler enough, you'd pick up a few things.
Yeah. And well, I mean, he worked with Charles B. Pierce, who's a big Faulk monster expert. Maybe he's pulling from a couple different traditions here.
He probably is.
Bottom line is I don't think this is an authentic Native American folktale that he's sharing.
Well...
Because the Native Americans get wiped out left and right from this herd of bears.
Well, but you never know.
This seems like a thing that would make more sense with, cave people and they're wiped out by, woolly mammoths. It doesn't seem like a bear story. Or maybe, the prehistoric bears when people lived in caves.
I'm 90% sure Grizzly is a documentary.
Well, that would make the documentary that I saw about the making of it a little bit weird, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but that's it's so meta, That's the beauty of it.
Is there a making of Lost in La Mancha?
There should be.
Because, I mean, what's there to say about making a documentary? Like, you know, I don't want to see a making of, what's the Altamont Rolling Stones movie?
Gimme Shelter?
Yeah, I don't want to see a making of Gimme Shelter. That's just going to be a snuff film.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So after and again, in regards to the Indianapolis scene, too, it really doesn't add a whole lot. Like, we already know the bear's a huge threat. But but then again, I guess technically you could say that about Jaws. Like, what does that, other than just being a great piss-drunk performance by Robert Shaw, like, it doesn't really add that much. So I don't know. So Girdler's doing his Spielberg thing. Andrew Prine is doing his Robert Shaw thing. And I will say, of the three actors, we've got Christopher George playing Roy Scheider, got Andrew Prine playing Robert Shaw, and we've got Richard Jekyll playing Richard Dreyfuss. Of the three, I think, to me, Andrew Prine is the least like his Jaws actor. And I mean that in a good way. Yeah. He's not the Quint character. He's the Quint character in the sense that he's got the vehicle. He owns the vehicle that they use to track the bear. And he's got this Indianapolis story. And he's got guns. He likes shooting things. That's basically, those are the ways in which he's Quint. Everything else, he's much more of like a gentleman. And I guess he does make fun of the Richard Dreyfuss character, too.
That's true.
He only does it like once, and then he's very sad about it later on when something happens, which I didn't think was warranted, given that he said like one joke, and it was not like like the abuse that he takes in Jaws. It's nothing like that. Just trying to cover the bear attack scenes now, because they're all unique and interesting. So the first one, and this is where you see the PG Girdler sneaking into what seems like it's a 3 on a meat hook kind of scene, is the female park ranger, who happens to be very attractive, decides to take a shower in the waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, I've seen Jacko. I know how shower scenes work in movies. I've seen Jacko. I've seen Psycho. Right. I've seen Abominable. I actually haven't seen Abominable, but I understand there's a good quality shower scene in that film.
The horror workout, it opens with just a really long, drawn-out shower scene.
I didn't know that. I've never actually seen it. I quickly saw her workout.
Literally, the opening credits are over her in the shower.
Up there with the Puppet Master POV as quality opening credit
one of the
sequences.
Best openers. But no, she's in this movie though. She's wearing like
she is. That's
bikini, right?
That's the PG. Is she keeps her underwear on, right?
Yeah.
We keep it very tourist trappy, where we're getting this kind of
that's very true
shower bath scene, but we're not going to see any nudity.
And then the bear jumps from behind her.
The bear grabs her and says, why aren't you naked? This is a William Girdler horror exploitation movie. What are you doing? But he grabs her, and this is the most complete bear suit we've gotten so far. And it's, it's obscured by the waterfall.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is probably the best it looks, because it's just an arm. And when it's just an arm, like, it looks like a bear suit arm, but it doesn't look like someone on stilts in a bear costume, I guess, which is, the minute bowl on top of Andre the Giant kind of thing.
Exactly. But
she's out. She's down for the count. And then, let's see, what are the other attacks? Oh, there's that one hunter who gets stalked by the bear. And this is the first time we really see the real bear.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So we see the actual bear, and this is the scene I mentioned earlier where we get like close-ups of the bear walking, because they're not trying to get you to compare it to anything in the background for scale, because the bear isn't actually that big. I think, according to Wikipedia, Teddy was like 7 feet tall or something, which is like a normal bear height. That's Shaq height. That's Shaq height. It's not Shaq on top of Andre the Giant height.
No, it's just Shaq.
Well, Shaq was 7'2" technically, but who's to Rudy Gobert. We'll go with that.
Okay.
So this bear, he's walking around. He's not moving that fast, but he starts chasing this hunter, and the hunter just gets away. It's kind of the Girdler touch. You don't see this coming. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we see someone come across the bear and get away. Well, I guess technically the bear attacked a campsite of 45 people and only killed one, but you know what I mean.
That's that Girdler touch.
And he gets away by jumping in the river or the stream or whatever.
Yeah.
Probably the same one where that woman was killed. So obviously the bear doesn't have a problem with water. I'm just pointing that out.
Right.
It's not like Jason in Freddy vs. Jason.
But he fell down like a hill.
No, you're right. Yeah. And I mean, the stream is moving fast.
The bear just didn't want to jump into the river.
Animals tend to, this is probably true of bears, it's certainly true of reptiles, they don't exert themselves unless they really need to, because they're animals. They don't have to do anything. They just sit around and then, oh, hey, I need to eat. Let me go hunt this thing. And then that's it. And, you know, he doesn't really need to eat. He's got several bodies buried throughout. It's like walking through Vietnam where there's just bodies buried under the ground everywhere. So eventually we get to the scene where I think the movie loses a lot of the goodwill that it's been building up. And that is the scene where the 4-year-old kid gets attacked.
Right.
I think there's a fine line. First of all, the kid doesn't die.
Right.
Although it's almost more depressing because his mother does die. And there's a line like the journalist, or maybe it's Joan McCall, asks, wait, is the kid alive? And Christopher George is like, well, a part of him is. And I'm like, holy shit, that's bleak.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a 4-year-old we're talking about. But
just
I think
they got to do the Jaws thing.
That's the thing, is that technically Jaws, it's the second kill. The Kittner kid. Yeah. He's a kid and he gets killed.
That's what makes it real.
Well, yes, Jaws. Exactly. No, and that's an effective moment for Rob Schneider because he's there.
Rob Schneider is there.
Because he's there and sees it, and he's at that point he's the only one that knows there's a shark there.
A lot of people don't know that Jaws was made by Happy Madison.
Yes. It explains the Terry Bradshaw cameo.
Exactly.
The height of his Super Bowl winning fame. And but anyways, it's a character moment for him, and it comes back later when the boys, they say mother, but she looks like grandmother when she slaps him in the face and says, like, you knew about all this. Mm-hmm. He realizes that, okay, I mean, I've tried, but overall what I've done is still kind of inaction, and I need to do something. And then ultimately, it's when his kid is almost killed that's when they actually hire Quint. And so, yes, a kid does die in Jaws. The difference of Jaws and this, you know, quality aside, is that's a 12-year-old, this is like a 4-year-old.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, there is a difference there. And we do have a line drawn, whether it's a subconscious line, but we don't mind seeing teenagers die. We have entire genres of that with, you know, Halloween, all that stuff. Teenagers are cool to die. Like, it's cool. It's fine. No one cares. We don't like dogs dying, even though a dog dies in Halloween and everyone loves that movie. Dog dies in like every Halloween film.
I think Michael you're right. I never even thought about that.
He kills so many dogs.
He hates dogs. Also, no spoilers, but I'll say that Alligator has a lot in common with Grizzly and Jaws in this sense.
Oh, but is Alligator an Italian movie?
No.
Okay, I was picturing it being one I mean, The Great Alligator is, but that one is not a great movie. That sucks.
No, it's not. But I did confuse those two movies initially as well.
Yeah, because I think The Great Alligator has been titled as Alligator or Alligators at times, you know. Even though that's not an alligator in that movie, it's a crocodile.
Right.
Isn't it?
But I think so. I believe it
is.
But
Italian movie, they're like, we don't give a shit. We have 45 titles to every movie. We don't care.
Exactly. But Alligator is worth your time.
Okay, I believe you. But anyways, in regards to when it's okay to kill a kid, like a child.
Right.
We have this line drawn. Teenagers, it's okay. We don't like seeing pets, like cute animals, die. But there's a line when, like, every now and then it's okay to kill a kid. And it's okay if you're trying to pull off, like, a real dramatic moment in, like, a powerful... It doesn't even have to be a drama. But, like, Jaws. Jaws is a good example. Like, 12-year-old kid, it means a lot in that moment. It means even more later on, you know, with this character. For the movie in general, it raises the stakes. Mm-hmm. You can also get away with it in, like, a cheapo exploitation movie. Like if you didn't think children would die in Beware Children at Play, like, oh my... I'm sorry. Watch the ending scene. I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it's zombie fighting shark levels of, you know, your mind's blown. Because that's that type of exploitation where that's okay. And this is where Girdler kind of straddling the line between 3 on a meat hook exploitation, where you would kill a kid, and quality Hollywood filmmaking, where you might kill a kid, but you're going to have the kid be a little bit older, and it's going to be done better. Yeah. This is where this kind of, you know, a Girdler divided against himself cannot stand. This is where this movie falls apart at least a bit for me. And it also hurts that when we meet this kid, he's playing with like a bunny. It's like the cutest thing ever. It's like, I don't want to see this kid get killed. It's like the opening scene of Commando when Arnold is with his daughter and they're just hanging out and they're like feeding a cute little deer. That's like what's going on here.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I can't argue that. It's, you know, but It raised the stakes. That's all Girdler needs.
I mean, yeah, that's what they're going for, clearly. But at the same time, what they do after this isn't anything different. Like, I'm talking about the characters. What they do after this isn't particularly different than what they do before.
Yeah, but it puts it in the audience's mind of like, man, they need to kill this freaking bear.
There's an audience?
Well, if they're there.
There were $39 million. $39 million. They were there.
Well, that was just Girdler.
Girdler bought 25 million tickets.
He sold out the theater.
Oh, he brought his cubs.
He brought Teddy in there to come see his feature role.
So anyways, back to the movie. Again, going back to, like, the characters haven't really changed. Scott, the Richard Jekyll character, is back out in the woods doing his thing. He's kind of doing his solo thing. He's getting in the shark cage, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
He's doing this thing that this Quint character told him not to do constantly, because Quint knows how to take, just a little coincidentally.
Yeah.
And then Quint and Christopher George are up in the helicopter scouting it out, and they eventually make like radio, like walkie-talkie contact with Richard Dreyfuss, and he's got a plan. Actually, I don't think he has a plan. I was going to say the other two have a plan. Actually, they don't start in the helicopter. They start on foot. They've got a deer carcass, and they're using that to lure the bear out. They eventually find the bear and chase it.
Right. Because
when you have long-range weapons that you're aiming to kill someone with, I think you have to get really up close, right?
I assume so.
And this is where we get very, very John Williams. Like, to the point of, like, I think we're in Reanimator score territory here. This is... So, it's not like the Jaws theme, but it's that kind of that close. Heroic music that plays when they're on the ship. It's that...
I think the Reanimator one is maybe a bit
well, yeah, Reanimator is literally, it's a cover. I mean,
it's awesome though.
It's like the Weezer Toto Africa song. It's like it's the original but worse.
I don't know. I think it's pretty good though.
With the exception of Africa was sucked to begin with, and Bernard Herrmann's Psycho score is an all-timer.
We're going to have to disagree on both those. Well, no, not both those. We're going to have to disagree on the Toto one.
Bernard Herrmann, come on.
I like Africa. I'll defend it.
How embarrassing.
Right now, I'll take the embarrassment. That's true.
Right.
And
okay.
I like the...
I mean, you just watched Vice Academy. I mean...
And I loved it.
You're used to embarrassment.
And I like the Reanimator theme. That's all I have to say.
No, I mean, I do too, but I like the... I mean, it's because I like this other theme.
Yeah. But it's a crazy rendition of it, though, even still.
It sounds like, and we'll talk about this with the Vice Academy music score, I'm sure. I'm not a musician. You're a musician.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like, like how those Casio keyboards, they have like the settings to change to like have like different kind of instrument sounds or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It sounds like the score is played through that, like just on a different setting. You know what I mean? It sounds very, very cheap, but like, it's good music, but it's done cheaply.
That's what you gotta love about Richard Band, though, in general.
Well, yeah, and that's the entire score of Vice Academy is very much like, they went with like video game music. All right, so they chase the bear, and then they get tired, but the bear's not tired. The bear, I think they stop because they're like, oh, he's tired and he'll have to stop. He won't be hunting now. But he actually he circles back around, and he's gone under the boat. I mean, he's gone and gotten the deer carcass.
Right.
And he's dragged off the deer carcass somewhere. Richard Jekyll finds the half-eaten deer carcass and throws it on he's on a horse for some reason. He wasn't on a horse before. I mean, he was, like, when he was outside, but, like, he didn't have he was just living with deer.
Right.
He was, like, living out... Where did he get a horse? Who was taking care of the horse for the past several weeks when he was living with the deer?
The horse was taking care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, if you're a rich white dude, and I'm not saying he's rich, but, like, I knew a lot of people I went to school with who's like, oh, yeah, my family owns a horse, but, like,
right.
It's several miles away from them, and they see it, a couple times a month.
Yeah, who knows with this?
Like when Tony owns Pyomai. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, I don't really know. Maybe if you're a nature what is the word? Conservationalist? I don't know. Maybe.
Which I think that's all the reason not to own an animal, personally.
Yeah, but...
I think we've got some conflicting...
Well, but then also, you remember that cop earlier, or the ranger earlier was on a horse. Maybe that, that's, I guess, how you would get around in an...
So you're saying he stole the horse from
maybe he did.
From the park? Maybe. I mean, he does, they just kind of say, like, oh, where is he? Oh, he's out there. Like, he does have like kind of an escape. There's an escape quality in him going away.
I mean, I just assume that's how you would get around in a national park if you were a ranger.
If you don't have access to, well, yeah, but he's not a ranger. He's just a guy.
Well, yeah, he's just a guy, but he's always there. Yeah, he might have just stole it, I guess.
He's part scientist, part hippie, part horse thief, maybe.
Part Richard Dreyfuss. And all
part
Richard Jekyll.
Yeah. Part Academy Award winner.
He's like, but I'm all Jankel, baby.
He's got the deer carcass. Or half of it, anyways. And he gets attacked. He gets a nice good old swing to the horse's head, and we get a little Godfather homage.
Right.
As the horse's head is just sent flying, which that might be the best single. It's up there with, I mean, it's probably better than the arm because it's a little sillier because it's a horse's head.
That part is awesome.
It is really great. Again, you're getting those Girdler exploitation moments sprinkled in this PG-rated film that made $39 million back when $39 million could have paid for at least one college tuition.
Wow. A harsh critique.
So he's down. He's the horse is dead, obviously, and then the bear buries Richard Jekyll. You think he's dead at first,
right?
But then Richard Jekyll wakes up in like the next scene, and he sees that he's like partially buried, and he's like, "Oh, that was weird." And as he's getting up, he just gets killed.
Yeah, that was weird. That was.
Well, talk about anticlimactic. What's the point of that? Like, why bury him and then just kill him 5 seconds later?
Yeah.
Like, what are they?
I didn't get that.
It seems like they're setting up for like him to appear in the climax when the helicopter lands.
They just killed him.
But then they realized they already filmed that and he wasn't there, so they had to kill him in reshoots or something. Except they really didn't even need to have that because, I mean, he gets buried, he might as well be dead. We can just kind of assume he died.
Yeah, I have absolutely no idea what the logic is.
It's very silly. At any rate, the other two discover Richard Jekyll's body, and this is where Andrew Prine is sad over the one joke he made about him, and he's like, "Oh, I feel really bad about that now."
I shouldn't have made that one joke.
Yeah, I mean, it's more than one, but it's fewer than 5. I'll put it that way.
It's not
and none
enough.
of them are particularly harsh.
Yeah.
He might call him a hippie at one point or something. I don't know. I don't
shouldn't
remember
have
what they
called him
were.
that. He wasn't a hippie after all.
He wasn't a hippie. Look at this gun that he was toting.
I didn't know.
Yeah, but anyways, so they get back in the helicopter and they find the bear, and he's in this clearing, and so they land the helicopter, but then the bear attacks.
Right.
And the two of them get separated. Andrew Prine, Don, I think was his name, he's far away from the helicopter for some reason, and he's got his gun, and he's shooting the bear. The bear's on 2 legs because, it's a trained bear, and they get it to do that.
Right.
And he's shooting it, and he's shooting it, and he's shooting it, but he's out of ammo, so he holds up his rifle to, swing it here and there. And meanwhile, Christopher George is just taking his sweet-ass time. He's like trying to get a seatbelt off. He's realizing he forgot his wallet in the helicopter, so he has to go back and get that before getting out. He is taking his damn time, and as far as I'm concerned, Andrew Prine's blood is on his hands because he does have a gun. He picks up the gun eventually, but this is around the time when the bear is hugging him to death.
Right.
Andrew Prine, hugging Andrew Prine to death. I think I might have just said tugging Andrew Prine to death, which that
has a whole different meaning.
Again, that's a Black Emmanuel sequel waiting to happen right there. But so then Christopher George drops his gun when he's out of ammo, and he fishes out the grenade launcher. Which was that set up?
I don't think it was. I don't remember. Any mention of it beforehand.
Did he assume because he was a Vietnam vet?
Maybe.
Like, oh, he's probably got his old grenade launcher still. Like,
right, he's probably got one on him.
But he finds it, and he blows up the bear.
Yes.
And it's fantastic.
It's a really crazy moment because of how hard the score is going. And then as soon as the explosion happens, it's just dead silence for a minute.
Again, the Girdler touch. He gives you, it's sometimes an inappropriate touch, but he gives you something you're not expecting.
It's a little release. The Girdler release.
Tugging Andrew Prine to death with the Girdler release.
Yeah, the Girdler release.
And then the movie ends pretty much like Jaws, except there's only one person alive.
Yeah.
And it ends, I guess it ends on a bit sadder of a note, but I mean, that's the end of the movie. He just kind of walks off.
Yep.
And he's probably like, I know I'm a park ranger, but I'm in this giant park. I don't know how to fly this helicopter. I'm without my horse. I'm going to die here. And that's probably what he's thinking. He's going to start living off of eating half-dead, or not half-dead, but half a deer carcass. He's just going to eat that raw.
Well, that's the sequel waiting to happen.
He's going to feast on Charlie Sheen's flesh.
Well, no, they should do a Grizzly 1.5.
Oh, they go the Lion King route.
Exactly. And have him just surviving off the land, like kind of a Beastmaster movie with him and just maybe a different bear, but he actually befriends it.
So a Gentle Ben crossover.
Exactly. Finally. That's what everyone wanted.
Can we get both Tanya Roberts and Clint Howard in this? Because that's the team up that America's been wanting to see. I mean, technically we can't now because Tanya Roberts.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Recently, but can we get a Tanya Roberts impersonator, perhaps, with Clint Howard?
I would love that, yes. The Tanya Roberts impersonator. Who better to impersonate than Tanya Roberts?
Yeah, maybe Allison Doody. I don't know. The other Bond girl from that era of forgettable Bond movies. Who else we got? No, Grace Jones.
Yeah, that's true.
Grace Jones is in A View to a Kill. Is she alive?
Yeah, she is. I said that not 100% confidently, but I think she is.
She's more alive than Girdler, or Christopher George, for that matter.
Yeah, or Tanya Roberts.
Yeah, or Tanya Roberts. Well, Tanya Roberts did die twice. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I caught that. Trust me.
Yeah, that was very, very strange.
It was hard not to catch that. That was really...
She's more dead than anybody ever.
Yeah, that was a shocking week. It was like a couple days in a row.
If you're Tanya Roberts' family and the rumors started coming out that like, oh, Tanya Roberts died, even though she wasn't actually dead, but was very clearly in critical condition about to die, would you bother correcting anyone? Because that's just going to lead to an awkward news story a day or two later,
Well, but it wasn't like they had anything to do with it. It was like her boyfriend or something just said that.
Okay. I mean, I thought family, I thought it was like somebody, or he's close.
No, it was
I mean, I guess boyfriend would be close.
I think what happened was a doctor said like she's not gonna live or something like that, and he went and just said she's dead. like a crazy person is like assumed that she was dead and told everybody. And then like a week later, not even a week later, like 2 days later, it was like, oh yeah, no, she's dead actually this time.
Yeah. I thought it was like a day or two. It was just the most bizarre back and forth.
Yeah, it was really weird.
So, Feck.
Yes.
What do you think of Grizzly overall?
I wasn't super enthralled when I was watching it, but
right.
It had some good moments.
Any horse decapitation is quality.
That's great. I love the arm scene. Obviously I'm a huge
which arm?
Jekyll fan.
The arm being severed or the bear arms that we get
both.
Here and there?
Honestly, I like
exactly.
But the arm being severed was clearly one of the great scenes from this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge Richard Jekyll fan, so I loved that.
I did check to see if Andrew Prine was alive, and as of when we're recording this, he is. I did not check on Richard Jekyll. He may or may not be out there, so I don't know.
Well, here's hoping. If you're still out there, Jekyll, give us a call.
Oh, you know what? He has the Tanya Roberts death in this movie.
That's true.
He's killed, he's buried, then he comes back just to die again.
That's so true. That's sadly true. Wow.
There needs to be like a meme with Tanya Roberts' face over him on that scene. I know.
Finally, a meme for everybody. Finally. A meme everyone will get.
The three people out there who are familiar enough with both Tanya Roberts' death,
Girdler's
or the circumstances
in his
surrounding
grave,
it, and Richard Jekyll's performance in Grizzly.
Well, who knows? Girdler might not be dead. He might just be in the ground, just waiting to come back. You never know.
So I gotta say, my personal opinions on Grizzly. This is not the funny bad movie that I remember it being.
No.
It's too ambitious a movie to be like awful. I mean, if nothing else, they used a real bear.
Yeah, that's true.
That's something. Skill / talent / it's no, I'm not even going to say recklessness, because again, having watched that featurette, they had like electrified fences around. They knew what they were doing with this bear. This is not an Italian film where someone in zombie makeup fights a shark. This is not that. They knew what they were doing. So I mean, there's a genuine amount of like skill, talent, care. And sometimes with movies like this, like, you wonder which came first. Did they know someone who had a bear, or did they want to make a movie about a bear? In this case, I don't truly know, because I know what came first is someone saw Jaws and wanted to rip it off, and quickly.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if they looked up in their phone book, animal owners, and they got to a bear. They could have easily gone tiger, but bear was just, alphabetically it's first.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But I appreciate the use of a real bear. Mm-hmm. I appreciate some of the attack scenes. And I do think it's an interesting kind of blend of exploitation and kind of mainstream filmmaking, where sometimes they kind of blend in sort of an interesting way, where like a movie that's not going to show any nudity, not going to have a lot of swearing, and it's going to have wholesome music at the opening credits, and the John Williams kind of score here and there is also going to show a 4-year-old kid get his leg ripped off. Like, that combination's kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, I would
appreciate that. That's really what I get out of Grizzly. Like, overall, like, it's still, maybe it's nostalgia at this point, but I still enjoy it a lot.
Yeah, it was interesting. I don't watch a lot of, like, fully outdoor animal horror movies, honestly. So,
okay.
I enjoyed it, though. You ever seen Stanley? It's like a Willard ripoff, but with snakes.
I've never seen Willard still.
Well, it's like the orial Willard.
Either version.
It's like a ripoff of that, but with snakes, and it's all outdoors.
Oh, now this is different than right?
Yes, it is.
There's a movie that's just 5 or 6 S's strung together, and it's a snake movie?
It's not that.
Okay.
This is a different snake
because
movie.
That is a movie.
I know. I'm aware of that one, too. I haven't seen it.
Okay, Stanley.
What's a scarier name?
Is the snake named Stanley?
I think the snake is named Stanley, yes.
So it's like Ben.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ben, yeah. But except there is a character in it who's like Willard. Like, there's a main guy.
Okay.
Who, like, has snakes at his beck and call.
I was just thinking about this earlier. When I go to a zoo, and this is part of why I enjoy Grizzly. Bears are some of the few animals that I will appreciate seeing at a zoo, even if they're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
There's kind of a hierarchy, or like a tiers of zoo creatures, zoo animals. Mm-hmm. And some, it's like they're only fun to see if they're doing something.
Yes.
And I think even there's some animals that, they're doing something so often that you kind of forget about that, and you just say like, oh, I always love spider monkeys. They're always so much fun. But like, really, if you go to a zoo and spider monkeys are just like sitting down, combing their hair or something, like, that'd be the most boring thing ever.
I don't know. Spider monkey combing its hair is kind of cool.
Well, combing its hair, sure. Spider monkey drinking coffee is going to get them, jumping up and down. But if you go to the zoo and see a spider monkey just sitting down, right, just grooming another spider monkey for girdlers or whatever in their fur.
Yeah.
It's going to not be exciting, because there's nothing that awesome inherently about a spider monkey. What makes them awesome is what they do, how they swing around and stuff.
Yeah.
And bears to me are really the, I don't need to see a bear doing something. They're such impressive creatures to look at, just how big they are, how fluffy, how much you want to hug them. Uh-huh. Even though they can rip someone's arm off, or a child's leg,
or a horse's
head, even though they have that capability, even though they bury their half-dead prey and only to eat it 5 seconds later.
Even after what they did to Richard Gink, what was his
name?
Well,
that's Richard Dreyfuss.
Forgot his name already.
But you're a big fan of his.
A huge fan of Richard Jekyll.
Don't get me wrong. If they're doing something when you're at the zoo, awesome.
Even better.
There's one time I went to a zoo and a Kodiak bear was standing on its 2 legs for like a good 30 seconds, just kind of like looking at us. And it was the coolest thing ever. Which also reminds me, come to think of it, a huge missed opportunity to not use the helicopter propellers, right? The bear is standing on 2 legs right next to the helicopter.
You would think that they would do that at some point. I mean, it made perfect
sense.
They
blew it up, so I'm not going to complain too much because we got a grenade launcher or whatever. But, like, we're almost setting up for that with how close it is to the helicopter, how it's standing on 2 legs.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
maybe that's what they do in the Italian movie. Anyways, the reason I brought that up is, to me, snakes are that, and I understand a lot of people, snakes are boring at a zoo because they don't move they just sit there. But I think they're just such neat animals. So it sounds like I'm going to love Stanley.
Yeah, well, Stanley might be your movie.
Does the snake have cameo appearances in the Marvel films too?
Well, are you saying Ben does?
Wait, no, Stan Lee.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you were alluding that the rat in like Endgame or something was Ben. I do think that Ben is the rat that lets Paul Rudd out of the quantum realm in Endgame.
Oh, I don't remember that movie. I saw it. I don't remember a rat. I don't know what the quantum realm is. I'm sorry.
I don't really know what it is either, but
Is that the thing that Ziggy the computer controls and Al is a hologram for? And
I don't know what that is.
Quantum Leap.
Oh, I see.
Scott Bakula.
I never ended up watching Quantum Leap.
It debuted, I believe, the same year as our next feature film.
What year
Feck,
is that?
Why don't you take us away with Vice Academy in 1989?
Well, first of all, huge fans of cinema in general will be happy to know that this is a Rick Sloane film. People who love Hobgoblins, Blood Theater, The Visitants, I think, is a movie by him.
The what?
I think he made a movie called The Visitants. I think it's like
He's just call him Merriam-Webster? He's just making up words?
Yeah, it's Visitant. I looked it up. It's a movie. The cover of it, I haven't seen it, but the cover of it has a jukebox flying out of the sky.
Okay.
It looks kind of awesome. Anyway.
I can't even guess what the movie would be about with that title.
I don't either. Well, look, I'll tell you what. I saw Blood Theater, and I can't guess what that movie's about.
Okay.
So, Rick Sloane is not the most coherent director in the world.
He's the poor man's David Dakota, I've always thought of.
Yeah, but Rick Sloane doesn't have the catalog. Like, David Dakota has like
he's made 4,000 movies.
He's made like 4,000 movies, and if you watch just like a random one in the middle, it's gonna be just like padded out, like it's just it's quote unquote a movie. Have you ever seen
Dakota gave up at a certain
I agree.
point.
Have you ever seen a 1313 or heard of those?
I've never seen any of the 1313s. I know what they are. I know they're all shot in his house.
Yes. I watched
with his stupid car couch or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like Mini Cooper couch.
That's cool though. But
but it's in this every movie now.
No, I know. I watched the first one. No, I don't know if it was the first one. I watched one of them though. And the first it starts with a guy just sleeping.
Why are they even called 1313?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Is it a Munsters thing?
It starts with this guy having a nightmare. Like, you see him sleeping and he's like having a bad nightmare. And then you see his nightmare and it's just him walking around David Dakota's house in his underwear. And
I was going to say, there's no shirt. I guarantee that.
No, he's just in his tighty whities. And he walks into like every single room really slowly. And it just becomes so funny to watch it because it goes on way longer than you think it's going to go on. It goes on for 20 minutes straight before anything happens. Not a single word of dialogue.
It sounds like an Antonioni film. It sounds like Blow Up.
It's exactly like it's Dakota's Blow Up. Anyway, so this is Rick Sloane. But I like Hobgoblins.
I don't. I cannot.
I love Hobgoblins. I'm a big fan.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I know you're big into rubber puppet monsters. Rubber puppet monsters.
I love Ghoulies.
You're a Ghoulies guy.
It's the best. I have a Ghoulies 2 poster hanging over me right now. It's the biggest one I can buy.
I have a Bob Dylan poster, and of course he did the score for Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College.
Yeah, Bob Dylan famously did the score for Ghoulies 3.
He didn't do a lot of movie scores. It was Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid and Ghoulies 3.
These Ghoulies, they're pulling some pranks.
We got Kane Hodder falling in a mop.
Oh my God, I forgot about that.
That's a great cameo. I don't even know if it's a cameo because I don't know how famous he was at that point. I mean, he had been Jason at that point.
He was at the very least an extra. A welcomed extra.
A featured extra.
That's also Matthew Lillard's first movie.
Matthew Lillard, everyone's favorite Twin Peaks: The Return actor.
I loved him in that.
I did too. I'm barely half joking when I say that. He is.
I liked everyone in The Return. I just like Lillard in general.
No, where was I going with it? Oh no, I was just saying. I'm sorry, you're wrong. Hobgoblin sucks. I'm not a big rubber puppet monster movie fan, but I think even compared to the big three, among the big four, the Hobgoblins is the worst. I'm saying there should be a big three.
I can't say that you're wrong, so I won't.
No, you really can't. I think.
Well, I was never crazy about the Critters movies, but recently I rewatched them and I liked them a lot more, so I can't really make the I can't make the case.
I've seen the first two Critters movies, and they're real movies.
They are, but
Hobgoblins is not a real movie. That
doesn't factor into whether I'm going to think it's better.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying they're approaching. I don't think they're as good as Gremlins, but they're kind of approaching that. Like, okay, this is a real Hollywood motion picture. Billy Zane's in it. Leo's in Critters 4, which is probably more in the Ghoulies 3 realm in terms of quality. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I like, obviously Ghoulies is my favorite. I would prefer it even to Gremlins, but in this, so we got Rick Sloane here from Hobgoblins. Hobgoblins, as you said, is one of the best movies ever made.
You're right, I said that.
We're going to get into Vice Academy. So that's why I wanted to watch these, not because I thought they were going to be good or anything, but just because I saw that he made like 6 of them.
Well, yeah, no, I do think the Vice Academy films, forgotten though they are, and again, 3 of them on Blu-ray somehow. I mean, this is the age where Manos, The Hands of Fate is on Blu-ray, so,
Yeah.
Dr. Butcher MD. Like anything can be on Blu-ray. Not everything is, but anything can be.
Yeah, very true.
But what I was saying is, like, this is, I don't want to say important, but the Vice Academy movies are kind of an interesting or exciting, intriguing, perhaps, chapter in the compendium, in the 5-part volume on cult schlock movies, right? For a number of reasons. You've got a lot of key players. You've got Rick Sloane. You've got Linnea Quigley, who's like the queen of this kind of thing. You've got this is an important thing, but the actor or actress with a history or perhaps an ongoing career in adult films.
You say Ginger Lynn?
Ginger Lynn, or, I mean, the Tracy Lords, even though there's a bit more of a criminal element to that one. Yeah. And I guess technically this means Rocky fits in there in the Rambo movies, so I don't know.
That's true.
So maybe that's not as essential, but you get your Ginger Lynn, you get your Elizabeth Caton in the Virtual Encounters.
Right. Another great movie.
Yeah, but and then also you get the added bonus of Elizabeth Caton being involved in some of the sequels. She's actually in more movies in this series than Linnea is.
I'm excited to watch the sequels.
Yeah, I never realized how awful a comedic actress Elizabeth Caton is until I saw Vice Academy 3.
All I can say,
she is shockingly bad.
All I can say is just going into this movie, I've seen Hobgoblins, I've seen Blood Theater, I've seen Vice Academy now. This is his most coherent movie of the 3.
Well, I've seen all 6. I'm embarrassed to even finish the sentence, but I have seen all 6 Vice Academy movies. And I have seen Hobgoblins.
Yeah.
All 6 are better than Hobgoblins, I will say that.
It's going to be tough. I mean, I think Hobgoblins is better than Vice Academy personally, but I wouldn't say that it's more coherent.
It depends on what you value. I mean, if you like your rubber puppet monsters and you like your extended...
It's not even that.
10-minute long scenes of where a person's imagining that he's a rock star.
Well, that scene's awesome, though.
Versus if you like your kick to the nuts being the reincorporation thing that saves the day in the end of this movie.
That's
it's
classic Sloane right there. But let me get into the rundown here. So we open with the drug deal with some really awesome acting from these 2 drug dealers who are, I remember one of them says like, no one followed me here, babe. And then the other one says, don't call me babe. I don't like being called that. And then the other one says, oh yes, I do recall you saying that. So
real slice of life picture right off the bat.
Yeah, great acting. So then Ginger Lynn shows up as Holly, who busts them in their drug deal, and this is kind of introduces us to the Vice Academy, the titular.
There's like an arrest quota.
Yeah. I was gonna mention that in a second. That is the weirdest, or maybe the funniest thing about this movie to me. The fact that there's like you have to make 10 arrests or you can't graduate. It's just one of the best.
If they're cadets,
things.
Do they even have the legal authority to make arrests? I don't think they do. But
no, it doesn't make any sense. But I thought
that's
it was the
really
Rick
Sloane
idea.
touch.
Yeah, exactly. That is.
We had the
Rick
Girdler
Sloane
touch. We're experiencing
the
a
Sloane,
different, but still
the Sloane
touch.
slime. All right, so we're then introduced to Miss Devonshire, I think her name was.
Oh, God, yeah.
Where we learn Holly's the daughter of the police chief, so that was how she was able to make that bust. And this comes up a few times. It's,
Yeah, because he feeds her all the good intel.
Yeah, because, like, a little bit later, then she has to, like, do the lineup, and he tells her which one is the actual person. And then they just run away, like, they just get away.
That was really the most shocking scene. I will say this, and this will be a common complaint moving forward for me with Vice Academy, is that there are a shocking amount of scenes where they had an idea of what needed to happen in the scene.
Yeah.
And they seem to just go with it. There's no blocking. There's
no.
It's just like things happen.
Well, it just reminds me of that
There's
scene.
the complete and utter lack of creativity in how things happen.
It just reminds me of that scene in Hobgoblins where someone's driving and you can just see someone's hand pushing the car back and forth so it looks like it's moving. I don't know if you noticed.
I don't remember that, but okay.
That's the Sloan Slime. Yeah, so then we meet... Their names are Dee Dee, Shawnee, and Dwayne, who, by the way, is the only male in this class.
Yes. I was waiting for them to draw attention to that.
No, they never do.
They do draw attention to it when they kick him in the nuts several thousand times.
Yeah, but that's about it.
But yeah, you
never
almost think
mention
there'd be like a joke about how this is like an academy for females, and he's there because he's doing like his Ted Raimi thing in Dr. Alien, where he's there because he wants to like shower with the girls or something.
Wait, Ted Raimi's in Dr. Alien?
I mean, he looks just like Ted Raimi,
the
best
okay,
friend in that movie.
I was like, I don't remember that.
He does look like him.
I do like Dr. Alien a lot.
I do too. We featured that in our...
It's a great movie.
It was our From Russia with Love and our Dr. Alien episode.
Another one with Linnea Quigley in it for like 2 scenes.
And Ginger Lynn.
Yep, that's so true.
Ginger Lynn is one of the 3 dream girls. I don't know who the third one is. Just someone they got off the street, I guess. I don't know.
We could talk about our favorite Linnea cameos after we get through some of this.
The correct answer is Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or 5?
Where it's just like her boobs or something?
She's a soul inside Freddy's chest, and even though you cannot see her,
yeah, you can sense
it is clear she is topless somehow. It is.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the most creative ways to stick boobs into a movie I've ever seen.
I would agree.
Genuinely, I'm not even joking.
Yeah, so then they do this technique of like how to disarm a assailant of some kind, and Shawnee just takes her boobs out to disarm Dwayne, and then that solidifies the absurd porn level setup to this movie. And then everyone in the class kicks Dwayne in the balls. Incredible scene, I wrote.
I know you're a big fan of cartoon sound effects, and obviously that's what we get here, and especially in this scene.
Of course.
I appreciate the variety. It wasn't the same bell sound over and over again. There was like 3 or 4 that they kind of cycled through.
That's the beauty of Ghoulies 3 to me. Just to stay
okay.
Because there's more cartoon.
That's the Sloan Slime once again.
Well, it is that too, but Ghoulies 3 has more. I think that movie is a cartoon. It just happens to be live action.
Oh yeah, it's a Three Stooges college comedy, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so many cartoon sound effects in it, like so many. Like literally more than I've ever heard.
Like an alarming amount.
More than I've ever heard, ever in my life. All right, then they do some random outdoor training, including a self-defense lesson, which is just them like kind of beating each other up. And then that crazy gun scene where Shawnee shoots like 5 times and hits like 5 random things, and then the 6th shot she just nails it perfectly, headshot.
Yeah, well, and I think she shot a person too. We don't get a shot of it, but
not even
like
an implied.
Like,
she did shoot a person. She said, "Sorry, sir."
Again, the lack of creativity. There are some jokes in this movie. Some actually do work. There are a few like half decent.
At least one
moments.
line that I think is comedic gold.
Okay, you'll have to point that out.
I'll point it out later.
Because I'm off the top of my head, I can't remember, but there were definitely a few lines.
There are a few lines,
kind of moments.
There's one that is, one of the best ones.
Well, this is an 80s movie, so there's definitely a few lines, but
there was more than a few lines involved in making us this movie.
Yes, no. The Sloan Slime.
Yeah. Well, he actually invented a new drug called the Sloan Slime, and everyone was on it.
It's like a mix of cocaine and like pineapple juice or something.
Yeah, it's a beverage.
You have jokes that on the surface are at least a little funny. Maybe we've seen them before, but this scene where someone's shooting and they're awful at shooting and they're shooting every which way.
Yeah.
The execution is just terrible. She doesn't look that weird or that off when she's shooting, and it's just like people in the background are like cringing and kind of ducking when you hear
that's because it's all based on the sound effects.
They missed the opportunity. You got to have a cat go, "Row!" They didn't use that one.
That's true. I mean,
that's
this
like
is
the most used sound effect in history.
I know. I just think that this is a true spoof movie, and this was one of those classic scenes where it was just like sound effect, sound effect, sound effect, and that's the bit.
It's like a sketch comedy where this is just a sketch, and then we're moving on after this because the scene doesn't matter. I don't believe she ever even fires her gun later in the movie.
I don't think so. No, I don't think she does.
And we got to point out what's this character's name first? Is it Dee Dee? Is this Dee Dee? Or
no, Shawnee is the one who's shooting, who's played by
Karen Russell.
Yes, Karen Russell.
Linnea's co-star in Murder Weapon, which I believe is a Dakota film.
I haven't seen that. I would like to.
I'll just put it this way:
the best movie ever made.
I want to say it was one of the better Dakota films.
Look, that's saying something because I like a lot of his movies.
Karen Russell really impressed me with that movie. Like, she was really, really memorable in it. And then I saw her in this movie, and I didn't even recognize her when I saw her face. Let's put you're seeing a little bit more than the face.
Well, look, you got me hyped. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, it's her and Linnea. There's a lot of.
No, I definitely want to see that for sure.
A lot of body acting, if I remember right.
Okay. And then right after that, Devonshire teaches them about like going undercover as prostitutes, which has this like crazy makeup scene where
the makeup thing
puts makeup on her in like 21 seconds or something.
Yeah, there's a bit about how when you're a prostitute you don't have time to put on makeup, and I'm like, what? Is that a thing? She's like, no pimp will wait for you to put on makeup. Like, what? What it could mean they would make $10 more. I think they'll wait.
That wasn't the most absurd thing about this scene.
That's true. I'm just saying that even the basic setup is awkward. I agree, but yes.
But it was just an insane scene in general. Right after that, Linnea and Shawnee, I think in my notes I stopped writing Dee Dee and started just writing Linnea. But I still wrote everyone else's character.
So embodies that role that, you know.
Yeah. So afterwards, Linnea and Shawnee are in the bathroom with Holly, and then she puts like a sign on her back, on Holly's back, that says Vice
Cop.
Yeah,
it's the kick me kind of thing.
Yeah, like to ruin the drug bust. So that was a scene.
I don't think it was a drug. I think she was a prostitute.
Yeah, but either way, it's a really great bit from Rick on this one. That was the Sloan Slime. A little slime on that one.
The Sloan Slime, and this is where we meet Soda Pop, which may or may not be an ingredient used in the Sloan Slime.
There's Soda Pop in there.
Oh, excuse me, Cherry Pop. Cherry Pop.
Cherry Pop.
Right. Yeah, which makes more
Soda
sense.
Soda Pop from The Outsiders shows up in this.
Oh, that's right. Isn't that Rob Lowe?
I don't remember.
It's one of the famous guys, yeah.
Well, Emilio. Maybe who's Emilio?
I forgot he's in that one.
He's in that.
I know you're an Emilio guy, but
I'm a huge Emilio guy.
I'm a big Joe Estevez fan.
Oh, I mean, I love Joe Estevez. I mean, he's awesome too.
He's one of the greats.
You gotta love the whole Estevez clan. You got Joe, Emilio, Martin, Charlie.
Joe's the real patriarch, in my
agree. Yeah, he's the king. Anyway, so they're out on the town. Shawnee and Dee Dee meet Cherry Pop, as you said, who's an ex-porno actor. This prompts their investigation into the illicit ring itself, which there's that great... Well, I won't want to say great, but there's that bit about...
Can you say great about anything?
There's a bit about saying, well, with a name like Cherry Pop. And then... Yeah. So anyway...
So that's not the comedic gold. Just to highlight.
That's not the comedic gold, but
Yes, okay.
That's
good,
a
because
light
I agree.
chuckle.
I agree with you. That is not comedic gold.
I'll let you know when the true chuckles come later.
Sure.
So then we have Miss Devonshire gives them the lipstick thing. I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but they explain that they're going to go undercover.
Oh yeah, this is the
Q
scene where she gives them some gadgets.
Yeah, and there's some great sound effects in this scene as well.
Yeah, lipstick that simulates the gunfire sound effect.
Yeah, and then like the siren, and then there's the earring that is a radio.
Yes.
We got our gadgets. They won't be used until the very end of the movie, but we have the gadgets. So that's just Rick Sloan. He likes to set stuff up.
Well, we already had setups for the end of the movie that we didn't even realize were setups. Was the ball kicking scene?
That's true.
And the topless Karen Russell scene is a setup.
That's Sloan. He likes to bring it all back. he likes to mess with your expectations.
They're well-rounded films.
Yeah. So then Linnea goes to the porno company to start her undercover operation. Then, of course, we get the incredible Chucky Long. Incredible name, incredible character. And despite
he actually is a kind of a funny character. Yeah.
He is a funny character, but despite admitting that he thought the previous actress was under 18, Linnea is still really into him.
Yeah,
immediately.
That's worth pointing out. This entire scene is, I mean, again, everything's strange, but I want to talk about the casting agent here for a minute.
Yes,
this guy sucks. He looks like Joe Pantoliano a little bit.
Yeah, he does.
And he's got an equally obnoxious voice, if not quite as an obnoxious accent as Joey Pants.
Spoiler alert, but this is the character that gives one of the best lines to me.
Oh, interesting. Well, then I don't remember it off the top of my head, so I am curious. But I just want to focus on this guy is just weird.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, I know what you're getting at, but he also, like, I would have liked any other actor in this scene more.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the line.
He's one of the main villains in Vice Academy 2, and he sucks in that too.
Oh no,
that's all I'm saying. That. Yeah, he's I thought maybe he was a Sloan staple or something. I don't know if he's in Hobgoblins. I haven't seen that movie,
but I don't
in a long time. But when I first saw it, I thought maybe this was Rick Sloan, because this seems like where you would insert a director cameo.
I mean, if I'm telling you the truth, I only know Rick Sloan like by the picture I've seen of him.
Yeah,
on,
well,
like,
I mean,
IMDb.
I don't even think I know that much.
It's just like a picture of him with a hat on, and there's like a.
No, I have seen, because now that I've seen 2 Vice Academy movies in 2021, he's made it onto my Letterboxd page of most watched directors. So I have seen that picture. I swear to
that's
baseball
embarrassing.
Cap, yeah. Well, I mean, it's Nigel Bach with 7, and then it's a bunch of people with 8, and then it's a bunch of directors with 2 or 3.
But I mean, if we're talking Nigel Bach and Rick Sloan, Nigel's the real masterwork. He's the guy he's the real maestro, in my opinion.
He's the Fellini to Rick Sloan's Antonioni.
Yes, I think that is a fair comparison to Nigel Bach and Rick Sloan.
I mean, Nigel Bach, he takes. Oh, sorry. Just go on.
No. I want to hear what you got to say about Nigel Bach.
No, I was just going to say he takes literally nothing and somehow spins it into a good. Like, there's no joke there. I'm just going to say.
I know it's so
he
true.
Makes
though,
something out of nothing.
With at least like the Haunted Highway, and I liked The Way In a lot. I like most of them.
The Way In, that's a Ginger Lynn film, isn't
it? Anyway. Linnea does some snooping, and this is after she already shows up to the shoot, which is like the next scene.
Well, you got to you're skipping the resume part. Those are some of the funniest.
Okay, well, let me talk about the resume part. So they're looking at the resume that Miss Devonshire made for Linnea, which is another extra layer of odd to this scene. And then the guy asks, Will you do anything with animals? And she says no. And then he says, well, it says right here that you made it with half the zoo in this movie. And then the same thing is done with S&M, and that's basically the bit for that.
I thought it was relatively funny, and it is. I agree. It is weird that Miss Devonshire, who's this snooty, uptight, like prude, gives her the resume. That's the funny part. Don't know where that's
coming from. But yeah, it does set up the line that I really like later. So. Yeah,
I think you and I are talking about the same line, although this isn't from the sleazy director guy.
Is it not? Wait.
Well, I'm thinking of, like, because they're listening in. Karen Russell and the one guy in the Vice Academy, Dwayne, are listening in on, like, through the earring radio thing.
Yeah.
And when Linnea gets back there, she's like, "Oh, I gotta shoot whoever gave me that." It's like, or someone's like, "Oh, what? Who gave you that resume?" And then she's like, "It was Miss Devonshire." And then he's like, "Yeah, but whose resume is it?" And then Dwayne's like, "I would like to meet her or something."
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
That's not the line I'm thinking of, but that's
wow.
That's a good. Well, look, we'll get there. It's coming up. So then Linnea shows up to the shoot, the porno shoot, and
this is the David Bowie scene.
Exactly. Shawnee and Dwayne are in the car listening. So Linnea goes to like this back room where she's snooping around this like office, and there's this really bad parody of the James Bond theme that plays during the scene that I don't know if you remember that, but I took note of it.
I think it rings a bell, yeah.
It's like a really weird ripoff of the James Bond theme. There's a few of those, because earlier on, whenever they're doing the makeup scene, they play like a bad version of the Jeopardy theme song, like a ripoff of
Yes, yeah. Wait, why? Which scene was that? I do remember the Jeopardy
the makeup
theme.
scene. Like when
because they were timing something.
Yes.
That was a weird. Because usually you do that when it's like there's like a difficult decision to make or something. Like in The Grinch when they do kind of their version of that.
Yeah, which there's Clint Howard in that one too.
Clint Howard steals the show in that and so many other classic films.
Yeah.
No, but and a reminder that the music score is composed entirely, as far as I can tell, on a Casio keyboard with just like a different setting clicked here, right? It sounds like something a child would drum up.
I want to mention a piece of score in a second, other than that one. Because during Linnea's porn shoot, Shawnee and Dwayne stop listening to the radio stop listening to the earrings so that they can listen to a band called Severe Tire Damage. And
yeah, it was a weird name. I remember.
Yeah, he's like, I got the new severe tire damage or something, and she's like, oh, they're my favorite band. And then they put it in and it's just like the score. It's just like normal Rick Sloan score, like it's they just start like rocking out to it. But it's just like a normal piece of, like you said, Casio keyboard music. So that was an interesting decision. So that was just an interesting way to make it to where they don't have to pay attention to what's going on, I guess.
They went to stockmusic.com to get their music for this scene.
I don't know who made the music for this movie, but they really outdid themselves.
Alan Smithy did the score.
It's actually Richard Band, but he didn't want to take credit for it.
Yeah, it does have that sound to it, yeah. Like a low-rent Richard Band.
But this isn't the line I was talking about, but here's another great line. Whenever Chucky Long whenever they say action, he walks up and goes, I'm a horny stud. Let me in. Mm-hmm. Which is a good line.
Oh, and it's funny because when he does that, like, it's supposed to be a rape scene.
Yeah.
He's supposed to break and enter, but when he does it, because Linnea is so smitten with Chucky Long, each time she's like, oh, okay, and then they're like, cut, you're not supposed to be excited, he's gonna rape you or something.
Yeah, the director says, like, you need to degrade her more. Like,
yeah. The director, who inexplicably is... Why are they parroting David Bowie with this, in this part? Like, these are the Sloan slime decisions that I just can't get behind,
I honestly can't tell you. But we're about to get the line. So, basically, they do the scene. Also, right before that, the creepy, casting agent guy and the director are like, I heard there's, like, a Vice student somewhere. like might be infiltrating our business. You don't think it's her, do you? And then she's like, are you kidding me? And so, it's a really on the nose reference to that. And then Shawnee and Dwayne realize that they're not listening to Linnea through the thing. So they turn Severe Tire Damage off and they just hear Linnea shrieking, but it's actually in pleasure, of course, but they don't know that. So they run in and they go, you're under arrest. And then the casting agent says, you lied to us. You never had sex with any zoo animals. Which I thought was the best scene of
all the things. I mean,
the best line.
I understand what you mean. Yeah, I mean, of all the things to call her out for lying about.
Yes, exactly.
And that's a Chucky Long line, isn't it?
No. It's the casting agent who says that.
I thought it was Chucky for some reason.
No, because he like stands up all offended and he goes, "You lied to us. You never had sex with any zoo animals."
All right.
I thought it was the best line of the movie. But,
and then is this the scene where Chucky claims that he faked his orgasm for her or something like that?
But then she says, like, you might want to be nice to me because I can get you off, like, on bail or something like that. Which then, it's leading somewhere. So they arrest some of the porno people, but they still haven't gotten the head honcho, obviously. It's so early on in the movie. And, yeah, Linnea, let's just say it, kidnaps Chucky Long.
Oh yeah, she cuffs him to her, and they go to her.
Yes, they go back
Rick
to her
studio apartment.
And yeah, so she kidnaps him and keeps him hostage in her house. Honestly, her relationship with Chucky Long is the most confusing thing about this movie.
We're at times it almost feels like we're going towards Takashi Miike's like audition territory with this. I mean, in a non-comedic version of this, that's what we have.
You're not wrong.
Or Misery, maybe Misery with the great Kathy Bates and Clint Howard from earlier.
Is Clint Howard in Misery?
No, but could you imagine Clint Howard playing the...
That would be crazy.
The Paul Sheldon role. Well, here's the thing. That's the role he'd probably be very good at, but he'll never get because he's so fucking weird looking.
I know, but you gotta love how weird looking he is. Gotta love it.
Absolutely.
So she kidnaps Chucky Long. Then the next day, she's like all happy because they made the arrests and everything. And then Miss Devonshire comes in and says...
and you're skipping the sex scene, the obligatory...
Well, I kind of glazed over it. They bang.
Again, it's a Linnea Quigley scene, movie, so you're going to get pull her boobs that out. Scene.
That's the only
it's
time
shocking they didn't do it during the porno shoot, actually, quite frankly.
Yeah, I agree. It's honestly shocking that this is the scene they decided to use it on. This is the only scene where she pulls her boobs out. You would think that it would happen in like most other scenes than this one.
And that's the thing, and I'm not saying this movie's bad because of this. I'm not being a weirdo pervert saying like, oh, I needed to see more nudity in this movie.
Yeah.
But you would expect more than what you get. You really would.
You would.
Even having no knowledge of Rick Sloan. Okay, what is this? This is a sex comedy parodying Police Academy, I guess? Maybe.
Yeah, you would think that there's more boobs in it.
With Linnea Quigley, her co-star from Murder Weapon, who's naked half that movie.
And a porn star.
Who, by the way...
never gets naked.
That is the most shocking thing.
And honestly, there's just like there's 3 boob shots in this movie, and one is a reference to the other, and that's it.
Yes. Although the Linnea Quigley one, it's more good 20 seconds or so.
Yeah, that one's more upfront for sure.
And this is partially about the nudity and partially not. Ginger Lynn in this movie, playing Holly. She's second billed behind only Linnea.
She's hardly in it.
She has nothing to do, and I don't mean like...
She's like an antagonist kind of.
She is, and that's fine. But like I'm shocked that like...
Yeah, she's in it less than
you have a porn star. If you can't think of something to have her do, have her be naked, or take off her top or something. Like, that's what a normal person would do.
Yeah, but
that's what a David Dakota would do.
Rick Sloan is not a normal person.
That's what a Jim Wynorski, a David Dakota, a Fred Olen Ray would do if they have Ginger Lynn. They're like, okay, yeah, we've got to use that.
Sloan was on the slime during this shoot. He was doing something else.
But it's just, she doesn't do that. And not only does she not get naked, but she like barely does anything. Like, at least if you're not going to give us that, give us something. She's inexplicably in lingerie for like 5 seconds late in the movie.
Yeah, that is true. I forgot about
so that's like the most you get. It's just it's a shocking underutilization of Ginger Lynn. And again, having seen Vice Academy 2, far better use of her talents. I'll just be upfront with that.
So yeah, at this point, Devonshire tells Linnea that they had to let everyone go that they arrested because she had sex with the guy on camera, like in front of everybody. So her opinion wouldn't like hold up.
Which you'd think would be the evidence that they're talking that they need.
Yeah, but no. No. I mean, they said it wouldn't.
Like whatever.
They said it wouldn't hold up in court, so they dropped him. But of course, that comes back around. But we'll get to that.
And they're trying to get Cherry Pop to testify, or they were hoping Cherry Pop would testify.
And she shows up and says that she will. Yeah, and that's like right after that. And then Miss Devonshire basically sends them on a mission to crack the prostitution ring. And Holly says, like, none of our Vice students have come back since being put on that, patrol or whatever. And Devonshire says, I know, like all evil like.
Yeah, we get a major turn from Miss Devonshire here.
Yeah, she wants them
just
to
seems
die.
Like you're classic, like, frustrated teacher. These students suck. No, she wants these kids dead.
Yeah, she wants them dead. Yeah, so basically what they do is they're just like tricking prostitutes into outing themselves as prostitutes so that they can arrest them, so that they can find out where the operation is held at.
Going back to my complaint about it's shocking how little creativity there is in these scenes.
Yeah.
We have the same scene like 3 times over. It is genuinely shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree. But,
It is so freaking lazy.
I like it.
It's incredible.
I think it's a good scene.
It's fine. I'm not complaining too much.
Look, I don't go into a Rick Sloane movie expecting much more than what I got.
No, but you would probably, what I was saying earlier, you go into a Ginger Lynn film expecting something different.
But I don't really know anything about Ginger Lynn, so not really.
She's in Dr. Alien for 2 seconds, and she's moved. You know enough about it.
But again, that's Dakota. He's not on the
Dakota
slime.
handles similar material in a more compelling way, is what I'm saying.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. But Rick Sloane's
even
never made
even the fact that there are 2 David Dakotas. There's 80s, early 90s Dakota. The Creepazoids era,
of course.
Another classic Slime Ball Bolorama, which I will not deny. Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama has plenty of scenes like the scenes in this where it's just uncreative. And like when the Bride of Frankenstein monster is like looking for Brink Stevens, who's just like hiding behind a fountain, and then eventually she just finds her. Like that scene is shockingly bad. That's like a Rick Sloane scene.
I gotta be honest, it's been a long time since I saw that movie, but
okay,
I don't remember that scene. But I thought I like that movie, so that's all I got to say. No,
and then obviously 21st Century Dakota is a different person. I'm convinced.
Yeah, and he's gonna says that he's gonna direct a sequel to that movie.
That's come out, I think.
No, that one didn't come out.
Oh, I thought it did. The official Twitter account of that got mad at me a few years ago.
Really?
Because
like the Deadly 10?
I don't know. It's like it's some Twitter account claiming to be. It's not the Djinn. What's the monster's name in that? What do they call him? Impy.
The Imp? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Twitter account claiming to be Impy. Uncle Impy got very angry at me when I said Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama kind of sucks, actually. Which, like, I mean, I'm not wrong, and that's part of what's great about. I mean, like, calm down, Uncle Impy. And the weirdest part is that he got angry with me while telling me to be sure to check out Sorority Babes in the Slime Ball Bolorama too. It's like, I don't understand.
I wish that would have came out.
I actually don't. I feel like those types of movies, these Vice Academy types of movies, these 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, boob-filled, like direct-to-video kind of movies.
Yeah.
These are of their time. Nowadays, the closest thing to these kinds of movies, they seem to have like 45-year-old ex-porn actors in them who are like heavily made up and just not pleasant to look at. I hate to say it, but it's like there's no modern-day Michelle Bauer that I'm aware of. There's no modern-day. I mean, it just depends.
I just think it was interesting that Brink Stevens was going to co-direct that movie, too.
Oh, I hadn't heard that, actually. That is the most interesting thing about that movie already, and whether or not the movie exists. I guarantee that's more interesting.
Well, they didn't end up making it because it's for the Deadly 10 thing, and that didn't pan out, at least not yet. All right, let's get back into...
Yeah, that's on me. I'm cutting that, don't worry.
Are you sure? There was a lot of good stuff in there.
Was there?
We were talking about slime Bolorama, whatever the hell that movie's name is.
Well, maybe I'll keep some of the slime ball stuff. Because I like the story of Uncle Impy getting angry with me on Twitter.
Well, I mean, that's classic. Classic Impy.
I mean, how many people have called you out on Twitter? 0. Because you don't have a Twitter.
I used to have Twitter, though.
Oh, did you? Okay.
But I didn't usually provoke people.
Jim Wynorski ever hit you up? You fucking asshole.
I don't think anyone's ever come after me on Twitter, though, so...
I mean, imagine just one of your heroes, Uncle Impy, just turning on you like that.
Yeah, that's fucked up. He is one of my heroes. That was a picture of him over my bed.
No, I actually genuinely hate him, and I feel like the voice of him is super racist.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Because that is a white dude doing it.
Yeah, it's certain.
That is very, very racist, and it kind of bothers me.
I can't really argue in favor of it. So.
But that's the Dakota touch, you know?
That's the Dakota touch, is light racism or half-naked men.
Casual racism.
Yeah, so anyway, so they trick the prostitutes into ousting themselves, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so this leads them to a laundromat, which is where we get to, like, basically the third act, which is, I guess, there's
Did we even really have a first two?
Yeah, we didn't really have a first two, but we know that by the time we're at the laundromat, we're in the third act. Shawnee and Dwayne are captured, and this is after Dwayne does a very did not age well Middle Eastern impersonation.
Oh, speaking of Dakota levels of racism, yes, yeah, this is right.
This is one of those. Luckily, it's a very short scene, and it ends quickly.
So. Yeah, we didn't get to Cannonball Run levels
No, so yeah, it could have been worse or just could have been longer, I guess, and I'm glad it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. But it's still there, and you can't unsee it at the same time.
Yeah, so Shawnee and Dwayne are captured, and then basically right before Linnea enters, there's a funny scene where Linnea and Chucky Long agree that they love each other on a purely physical level.
Oh yeah, and this is a really funny scene too, because he's like, oh, when are you, because he's still handcuffed to like her sink or whatever, and he's like, when are you gonna come to let me out? And she's like, I left you the key, it's right there under the newspaper, I thought you would have found it by now. That is one of the few I didn't even want to say few, but it's one of the funnier moments. It's a genuine
I agree.
laugh.
So then, with about 20 minutes left in the film, we are finally introduced to Queen Bee. Who is the antagonist?
Who we didn't know. Like, was she mentioned before?
No, she wasn't. She just shows up.
And also, it's surprising how literal the name is. Like, Queen Bee, you think, like, okay. But she's got, like, a stinger on her... Like, part of her costume is, like...
And her hair is like a beehive.
And her hair is the Marge Simpson, the beehive kind of thing. But she keeps referring to her layer as, like, the honeycomb or something. And she's like, follow me, follow me. Like, what are we doing here? What is this?
Yeah, I don't get what, like, I know she runs the prostitution ring, but it's her, like, little clique and all that. I don't know if I get it. It's weird.
Bee focus was strange.
I agree.
Like, was there something in Police Academy that I'm missing? Because
Maybe.
I never saw that movie.
I never saw it either.
Probably
I couldn't tell you. But I doubt it. Yeah, it's Rick Sloan. He was on the slime, man. He probably didn't see Police Academy.
He probably didn't.
He was like, I can guess what that movie's about. Didn't.
He saw Lethal Weapon and he saw Murder Weapon, the Linnea Quigley Karen Russell movie. He's like, that's it. That's all I need.
Yeah, I could make both of those at the same time. So Linnea gets Chucky Long to do an impersonation of just a policeman and like say normal policeman things like this place is surrounded, come out with your hands up, etc. And so that goes off, and then while that's going off, she uses the lipstick gun thing finally, and
long awaited
and then that's when it becomes real, and that tricks Queen Bee into thinking that the place is surrounded. Obviously,
every now and then when I see like this type of I mean, what would you describe, like, how would you categorize this movie? I mean, it's a schlock movie, right? Because it's
a spoof movie and it's schlocky.
I was thinking there's got to be like a more specific kind of category for this than just schlock, because Grizzly is schlock to a certain extent.
Yeah, it
has schlock elements to it.
It is definitely, it feels like one of those late 80s, early 90s sort of like slightly erotic, but not all the way. And it's like...
Well, yeah, because the sex scene is played completely... I mean, it's Linnea Quigley topless, but it's played completely for laughs. Like,
yeah, and then it's like, it's a comedy, but also not like... It's like, that's the huge
It's
focus.
Not funny.
It's not the funniest thing ever. And then it's like, I don't know.
I think it's a worse version of Dr. Alien. It's kind of in that
honestly
sort of vein, because Dr. Alien is also Dr. Alien, I've talked about this before, but Dr. Alien is like one part sex comedy, one part like family friendly coming of age story. It's very odd to see those two combined.
I know,
and this doesn't have any family friendly element except for maybe the cartoon sound effects, but that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a sleazy movie.
The reason I ask is when I watch a movie like this, because this is not really my type of movie. I mean, I know it's a shocker, right?
Yeah, a shocker. There's a movie.
No, big fan. We featured it in our 3rd episode.
I love it.
But yeah, there's usually a certain point in a movie like this where I just kind of give up and become embarrassed to be watching it, you know? With Demonic Toys, it was, 5 minutes in. Certain movies I'm just like, what did I do in my life to bring me to this point? Like, I'm watching this on Tubi. I'm watching this for the second time on Tubi because I saw it like 2 years ago.
I watched it for the second time today in a week.
2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And that moment for me in this movie was when Queen Bee and her bee girls and that sleazy porn casting agent guy, casting director, are going through the same hallway over and over again.
Well, no, the casting director isn't in this scene.
Oh, no, you're right. But there is a
different guy
named
named Snake.
Oh, Stanley.
Just some guy who showed up named Snake. I don't...
Okay, no, you are correct, yes. But This is where I give up. This is where I become embarrassed. They're going through the same one or two hallways. There's all these lines about like, oh, it's a honeycomb. The police will never be able to like find their way through this honeycomb. It's like, and just again, the lack of creativity and how it's shot. You can tell it's the same one or two set. It's just like, I'm embarrassed at this point in the movie. I'm embarrassed. Up until this point, there's been moments here and there where I enjoyed the nuts kicking, all that stuff.
Well, I can't co-sign it.
Oh, okay. Hey, it's good to hear.
I think it's good all the way through.
This podcast is about the variety of opinions, and
it certainly is.
With the exception of like the movie Spider Baby, my co-host Jim and I think we've agreed on a few too many things here and there. So it's good to hear.
Well, I mean,
someone who likes this movie, and especially because the reason I reached out to you to be on this episode was I had a feeling I would have a hard time getting Jim to watch Vice Academy. I just knew it.
Luckily, I've been waiting for a reason to watch it.
Yeah, there you go.
So it worked out for me. Yeah, so they're running around. Then Dwayne kicks someone in the balls, which is really awesome. Really great callback. Mm-hmm. Then Chucky Long handcuffs someone who really cements him as a confusing good guy. I don't really know.
He's an anti-hero.
Yeah, he's interesting. And then they I don't know how they do this, but they trick everyone into the back of the van. They trick everyone into running into the back.
Again, this is that Sloan slime. The lack of where they just like get them to follow. Like here, I think it's this door. They open the door.
They just all run.
You very clearly see the outside, and that it's the van, and they're just sliding right in there. It's
beautiful. It's something to be celebrated.
There was a more creative way to frame this.
There could have been a more creative way, but that lack of creativity is something to be celebrated.
It's something to be amazed by. I don't know about celebrated necessarily, but sure, I am.
We're celebrating it now, though.
In a way.
I am. So when they're so first of all, that now they realize that they're late for graduation. That classic. I'm late for graduation.
The whole thing. Did we even discuss this? They had to get like 10 arrests and...
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, they had to get 10.
Did we?
And since, they have to get 10 to graduate, and they lost all the ones they had before, so we think.
Even though they didn't because Cherry Pop, but to their knowledge,
but that's sort of like a reveal, even though we already know that she went to talk to them. But anyway...
I would also like to point out the Cherry Pop actress, whoever the hell she is. The first time we see her at night. She's like outside a porno theater or something. It's great to see that Los Angeles had a 42nd Street, I guess.
Yeah.
But when she shows up at the police station to say that, hey, I'm willing to testify against those people, the beat up makeup on her is a little too good for this kind of movie.
Yeah.
It looks like someone actually punched her in the face several times. I feel weird watching it, yeah.
Yeah, especially after seeing
that Sloan slime. It's one of those side effects.
Especially after seeing like Hobgoblins and seeing how he handled like the puppets in that movie and stuff.
How the puppets are just like
held up.
Yeah, they're hanging from like 7 feet up in the air at some point, even though they're 6 inches tall. By the way, I don't remember which Vice Academy movie it is, but there's a Hobgoblins cameo in maybe 4 or 3 or 5.
Like I think it's one of the Hobgoblin cameo or what?
The puppets are like visible in frame for like an entire scene where they're just which means they shot it at Rick Sloan's home. Is what that probably means. but I was like watching that and I was like, it's shocking. Actually, that he's that proud of Hobgoblins that he's gonna let his little
great movie.
Puppet.
He made a sequel in like 2013. You knew about that.
I
right?
would much rather see a modern day Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-orama sequel than a Hobgoblins sequel. I'll say that.
Do you know anything about it?
The Hobgoblins? Is it the only Hobgoblins sequel? First of all, I assumed there was a series.
No, It's just Hobgoblins 2 in 2013. They basically what they did was it's the same characters from the original, but they're the same age as they were in the 80s. They're recast to be like with
so it's like a remake?
No, because what happened in the first movie happened in the second. Like it's a continuation, but it's the same characters. And I don't think it takes place right after. I think he was trying to like make it a Scooby-Doo thing where like he thought the 4 characters in Hobgoblins were so iconic that he's like, oh, we'll just do them again.
Does Club Scum return?
No, it doesn't. I was upset.
Because that's like the only thing I remember. And again, just the, church festival picnic levels of like set design in the Club Scout.
Look, I love Club Scout. It's a great sequence to me.
It is, yeah.
But so they realize that they're late for graduation, but they got all these people in the back of the van, so they jump in the van, and then there's this version of the William Tell overture that plays as they drive to graduation that sounds like it was being played by someone who's never heard William Tell before.
Well, and again, we're back on the Casio keyboard, first of all. I mean, yeah.
But it's also like parts of it are just wrong. But it doesn't sound like a ripoff. It sounds like someone trying to play it right. So that was weird.
It's like someone heard it and then they were like ready to play it, but they lost their sheet music and they're like, "Oh shoot!"
Yeah, exactly.
They're just guessing.
So then we see the weird outdoor graduation with no one but the 15 or so students.
Yeah,
no family.
This is so bad.
No one's there.
This is where you realize. I mean, we've already realized this at some points, but like in the scenes in the actual Vice Academy, when like all the students are essentially extras except for Dwayne, Shawnee, Dee Dee, and Holly.
Yes.
Like everyone else is an extra, and they just kick they kick Dwayne Wade in the nuts. Like it's great. That's everyone else is an extra.
Yes.
But like you see, there's 15 extras in that scene, so you're like, okay, this movie, not a big budget, but they've got something. And then once you see them shooting in this public park in Los Angeles, you're like, oh,
I think it's different when you see a classroom, because it would make sense that there'd be that many in a classroom. But then when you see it outdoors, you're like, oh wow, this is the whole school, huh?
At least, like Rick Sloan. Yeah, no, that's a good way. It's like in Dr. Alien, where every single character is in the same science class.
Yeah, that's true. So we're at this outdoor graduation, and they make it to graduation in the nick of time. And yeah, like you said, I think, how does her dress come off? Holly's dress comes off. Like,
just the van speeds by, and I guess
exactly.
Rick Sloan yanked it off.
Yeah, so
as the van,
which is also an extra layer of weird because her dad is on stage.
That's a good point.
Like giving a speech at the moment when that happens. And she's like clearly one of the only people at this graduation. It's not like he could miss it.
Her mom didn't even show up.
Yeah. So who knows what's going on there. And then, so then they almost don't graduate because there's only 9 people in the van that they brought to arrest. Then it's revealed that the people from the porno movie were convicted after Cherry Pop testified against them. And then she shows up.
Yeah, she's the only spectator.
Yes. Her and Chucky Long.
That's true. Well, Chucky Long, remember, volunteers to be that 10th arrest.
Yes.
He's like, hey, I was involved in that porno ring.
It really shows his love for Linnea.
I mean, it's actually...
It's moving.
It is. It moves something.
I moved. And so they graduate with 15 arrests under their belt as valedictorians, and that is Vice Academy. That's how it ends.
What a film.
What a serendipitous series of scenes.
And what a serendipitous series of films, too.
I can't co-sign it.
You're looking forward...
Yeah.
But you're looking forward to Elizabeth Caton showing up in her giant mouth.
I'm excited. Well, I'm excited to see all those.
Yeah, and the Hobgoblin's cameo, and Miss Devonshire being recast, but then the original actress returning.
Yeah, you got me really excited for this Hobgoblin's cameo. Well, what did you think of Vice Academy? I think I know what you felt about Vice Academy, but
I
tell
will
me
say,
anyway.
In my run of watching the Vice Academy movies on Tubi, because I have this thing where, I mean, Tubi is best used... I mean, they have, like, real movies on Tubi, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But for me, it's best used to, like, just check out this odd curiosity.
I agree.
Because you don't know what it is, but it's free, and and it's like Kirsten Baker from Friday the 13th Part 2 is in it, so it's like, sure, I'll watch it.
Yes, of course.
It's something like that, and so like I've searched for Linnea Quigley, and all of her movies, at least up until like 1996, are in there, because after that it's like the voice roles in David Dakota movies, and it's like I'm not interested in that, and I've added all the Elizabeth Caton features and the Michelle Bauer features and the Monique Gabrielle features and all that stuff. And so that's how I stumbled upon Vice Academy. And then I found out, like, oh, Elizabeth Caton's in the other ones. Like, this is going to be great.
Right.
So when I first watched that, I thought it sucked.
Uh-huh.
But as I kept watching this series, I enjoyed it more and more. And actually, at the time, I thought Vice Academy's 2 and maybe 4 or 5 were, like, my favorite. But really, and then I thought I had seen them all, but I realized I never saw the sixth one, so I saw it like a month or two ago.
What'd you think?
So it's like, it's a Vice Academy.
Okay.
So it's like, I kind of thought that they were like, the series was getting better, and part of that is my interest and my preference in Elizabeth Caton, perhaps.
Yeah.
But really, I don't think it's just that the series got better. I think I just kept getting more and more used to them, and I knew what I was expecting. So it's like, if you don't know what Vice Academy is when you first watch it, you watch it and you're like, this is barely a movie. I mean that's the Rick Sloan formula, right?
Yeah.
What is the bare minimum we can put in a feature film?
And that's the beauty of it.
And once you are aware of that, there is some enjoyment to be had.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this film is not... it's obviously not a great film. It's not even great at being what it is. I.e., there's a lot of sleaze, but there's not as much sleaze as, honestly, this movie deserves. And I think that's maybe where some of the sequels excel. In fact, Vice Academy Part 2 opens with Ginger Lynn breaking the fourth wall, speaking to the audience, and saying that, hey, a common complaint we received about the first Vice Academy was that it wasn't sexy enough. So this one's going to be more sexy.
Yeah.
It's not great, and it's not even great at being what it is, but it's watchable. I kind of enjoy it. I'm ashamed.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I'm giving it 4 stars out of 5.
Okay. I'm a solid 1.5 from... Well, here's the thing. I've told you this. I have trouble giving ratings to, like, bad movies that I enjoy, because I rate things based on kind of quality, but it's always subjective because it's my perception of the quality.
Yeah.
So I'll give Dr. Alien a 5, or 5 out of 10, 2.5 out of 5. But I really enjoy it. And I enjoy it as much as a lot of movies I would give like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I see.
And Sleepaway Camp, 3 out of 5, but like in terms of enjoyment, that's 10 out of 10 for me.
I think it's all based on enjoyment, though. That's all I care about. If I enjoyed the movie, then
I think it's still a 2 out of 5.
Well, not necessarily in this case for you, but I just mean in general with Dr. Alien. If I think that it's a 10 out of 10 worth of enjoyment for me, I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
I think it's I don't want to say guilt, because as Freud pointed out, guilt is based on morality and ethics, whereas shame is based on how society will view us. So I'm going to say it's my shame that's keeping me from rating something like Dr. Alien a 5 out of 5.
I've lost my
You've lost your shame.
When it comes to films, at least.
So you do not have what you would consider a guilty pleasure to you? Anything?
No, I don't think so. I was struggling to think of an example, because I think there are so bad it's good movies, like
100%.
But I don't think a lot of the ones
I don't think that's what Vice Academy is, but 100%.
But I think most people would say
it's hard to have a so bad it's good comedy.
But I think most people would say that that's what Vice Academy is. I don't think that
most
a lot
people
of the movies I watch.
Most people, if they're talking about Vice Academy, are asking you, what is Vice Academy?
Well, yeah, that's true.
I've never heard of it.
But yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I have guilty pleasures. I don't think I do.
That's good. That's probably very healthy.
If it's a movie like this and I enjoyed it all the way through, then that's it. I'm giving it a 4 because I thought it wasn't great. Honestly, I thought it was really good.
Right.
But it could have been funnier in parts. It could have been more consistent in parts. There are parts I didn't like, but
some of the jokes could have been executed better. Even some of the jokes that kind of worked could have been executed.
But at the end of the day, it was
the shooting scene.
It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. That's without a doubt.
If you know who Rick Sloan is, and you know who Linnea Quigley is, and you kind of know just a little bit about that, I do think this movie is exactly what you think it will be.
Yeah, I gotta say,
yeah, that's fair.
My end critique of it is it's no hobgoblins.
You're right. That's why I'm giving it a 2 out of 5 and not a 0 out of 5.
I think hobgoblins. I think you need to go revisit that. I think you need to give it another chance.
So, Feck.
Yes.
Which of these two movies do you prefer? Which did you enjoy more?
Vice Academy. But also, I think it's a little bit shorter. I think it's a little bit more, like, it taps into my brain specifically.
That's more a movie for you,
yeah.
I think, yeah.
It's a more sleazy 80s kind of movie, whereas I felt like Grizzly was just something I was supposed to take more seriously, and I just wasn't super into it.
Yeah, it's definitely trying to be taken more seriously, but it's still got the Girdler touch, though.
I totally agree, but Vice Academy is just more straight junk food. Like, I can just...
Oh, yeah, that's a great description.
By.
Yeah. This is your Taco Bell Gordita Crunch where, it's not good for you and it's going to come out of you really fast eventually, soon enough.
Like, to me, with Grizzly, and I don't want to talk bad, but I only saw it once, and I thought there were a lot of great moments in it, but I felt bored multiple times in it, and that's really all it comes down to with me not thinking it's amazing. Whereas with Vice Academy, like, I definitely wasn't bored. In my opinion, at least, I wasn't bored watching it. It was a lot of things, but I didn't think boring was one of them.
Well, I'm going to be the opposite, and I'm going to agree with a lot of the stuff you said.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I prefer Grizzly. And I think a lot of it comes down to the 70s versus the 80s. The 70s trash, the 70s sleaze, and this isn't trash, it's sleaze, it's not trash.
Yeah.
Versus the 80s sleaze.
I agree with you, but on the opposite way.
Okay, but to me, like one, just in general, I think 70s, in terms of non-trash, I think it's the best decade for horror.
Okay.
Suspiria, Wicker Man,
of course.
Jaws,
I mean,
Exorcist, The Omen.
There's a million
Deep
examples.
Red, Dawn of the Dead. I mean, a lot of people love the 80s. 80s a little schlockier, which a lot of people like that. I mean, you still get The Shining, which The Shining is a 70s movie. It just came out in
definitely.
1980. Just like Halloween's an 80s movie. It came out in 78.
Same thing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I don't know why I random pull, but, you know.
That's a 70s movie that came out in the 90s?
No, it's an 80s movie that came out in the 90s.
It's like Jacko's an 80s movie. It came out in 95 for some reason.
Yeah, but that's what I love about...
way behind the ball.
That's why I love those 90s, like, shot on video straight to video movies, because they have the spirit of what was happening in the 80s. Like, they haven't left yet.
There were several 8 or 9 years behind the ball, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But even in terms of the 70s sleaze, I tend to find it more interesting than 80s sleaze. Like, listen, 80s sleaze gives you a Basket Case.
Of course.
Right? I mean, the Basket Case is a masterpiece. That is one of the greatest exploitation movies ever.
I would say if barring the first three Ghoulies, the best trilogy ever is Basket Case.
I actually have not seen the sequels.
Frankenhooker. I'm not even talking about the sequels. I'm just talking about like that unofficial trilogy of movies right there, because like they all tie into each other.
Yeah, the Basket Case guy shows up in Brain Damage for sure. So that's like 80s sleaze at its best, 80s trash, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
70s sleaze at its best is, well, I don't know if at its best is ever as good as, well, I guess the 70s equivalent to that is It's Alive.
Yeah, those are great.
Which is a damn good movie in its own right. It's not quite as amazing as Basket Case.
But then again, I think the best one of those was the 80s one.
I did see the second one.
It's the third one.
It Comes Again or something.
Yeah, It's Alive.
Okay, yeah, Island of the Alive, right?
Yes. It's got Karen Black in it. Come on, I gotta love it.
70s weird is great.
Yes.
And 70s sleaze gave us not just the Emmanuel movies, but the Black Emmanuel movies, like all the ripoffs and like that stuff to me. Listen, those movies are not good, but they are fascinating to me. And I think the 70s trash, the 70s sleaze, whatever you want to call it, to me is more interesting. And Grizzly being this weird mix of this genuine ambition to the filmmaking, all the helicopter stuff. I mean, there was real effort put into this movie. We didn't talk about the scene where the bear took down a watchtower and just was kind of just leaning against it aggressively. like there's a lot of I mean, you mentioned you like a lot of the moments, but I think even as the whole, like Jaws ripoff, as much as I don't like the 4-year-old child getting his leg ripped off, like that's fascinating to me.
I agree.
Why would you make that decision, you know?
At the end of the day, though, the 80s gave us the Garbage Pail Kids movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know the 70s gave us some other good, weird stuff.
Yeah, of course.
70s gave us Hausu.
That's so true. That's really true.
The weirdest movie, possibly the most insane movie ever made.
I don't know. It probably is. Very well could be.
It probably is, yeah. Anyway, so that's my opinion. What do you think of this? How do you think this works as a double feature?
I mean, it works in a sort of dichotomy of like early 70s. You're supposed to take it semi-seriously, but there's still a lot of wackiness involved. But it's wackiness that's played straight for the most part by the characters.
Unintentional wackiness as opposed to very, very intentional wackiness.
Overt, like what many
cartoon sound effects.
Yeah, what many would say is a waste of film. So
a waste of 6. There's like 9 hours of Vice Academy movies out there, folks.
So while I would say that it doesn't work as a double feature in general, there's definitely a fun yin-yang to it. dichotomy to it. But they're just so wildly different. Like, even that aside, I mean, one's an animal attack movie and one's like a undercover cop spoof movie. You know, it's just
it's a sex comedy. It's a sex comedy with cartoon sound effects.
Exactly. So it's very different.
I'm going to agree with you. It's not a great double feature.
No.
I think the problem here is Grizzly's not a great first movie. Grizzly's a good second movie for like a more straightforward horror or adventure film.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Give me a Wicker Man Grizzly double feature. Because Wicker Man, I don't know. This is the first thing that came to mind.
Interesting.
In that case, too, I mean, there's a lot of sex in Wicker Man.
Yeah.
Like there is in Vice Academy. Like, a lot of nudity, stuff like that. But it's like, it's a weird movie, but like, it's pretty mainstream. It's well known. And then Grizzly's just this like oddity of like, can you believe this was a very successful movie? Like,
yeah,
it's just
I
weird
agree.
kind of seeing that. And I think maybe Grizzly as a B side to an A side of like The Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah, I agree.
Kind of representing the weird era of the 70s where like any hack could throw together a hit film because drive-in theaters exist, you know, that kind of thing.
But I love that.
No, I do too. And
Yeah.
again, going back to Nigel Bach. We can't say successful necessarily, but we still love our everyday hacks going out there and doing things themselves, you know?
No, I think he's an auteur.
In the hack sense, yes.
No,
he's a hack version of an auteur.
No, he's just an auteur, I think.
So, Feck, why don't you tell us where we can find you? I mean, not physically. We don't.
You can find me outside in the streets, walking around. No, I'm found...
hanging outside the porno theater with Cherry Pop.
Yeah, with Cherry Pop. I don't know where you can find me a lot of different places. I got my hat, you know, laying all over town. I'm all over the place.
I mean, do you have like podcasts, blogs, YouTube, that stuff?
Too many to name, but I guess I'll say Schlock Reviews since it's the most relevant to what's happening here.
Certainly.
Yeah, if you go to YouTube, Schlock Reviews, you know, I'm there. Season 2 will be starting soon.
It probably will have started by the time this episode comes out, just a reminder.
It depends
we're
on...
recording this
It really just depends on me. So, yeah.
Well, it depends a little bit on me, too.
Yeah, it's both of us.
When I release this.
So, yes, Schlock Reviews Season 2 will either have started already or it will be starting at some point in your life.
Will we get one of the Vice Academy perhaps sequels featured on that?
Maybe. I don't know, because I don't really know how to handle it, because I started the Schlock Reviews channel just to do genuine reviews of Schlock movies, and I turned it into like a weird plot-based...
Yeah, it started...
It started with Critters Attack.
Yeah, this thing that I had never heard of.
Well, I only heard of it...
Does this exist? I still don't think it's real.
It's real.
I think you made it up.
I only reason I know is because I was at Walmart and I saw it. I think that spawned Schlock Reviews because it was so like not that good that I was like, why am I even watching these movies? Maybe if I can at least like talk about it somewhere, I feel like I will at least not have wasted my time watching it.
So that was kind of your demonic toys where like 5 minutes in you're like ashamed of yourself.
Well,
kind of,
demonic toys was also my demonic toys because I didn't really like that.
Oh, no.
Well, yeah, so I mean, I guess if you want to find me, go look for my Munchie review. It's me yelling on the side of the road, yelling at cars passing by.
Yeah, there's a lot of character drama in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of gripping tension. Yeah, so that's...
All right, so our guests can find you, our listeners can find you on YouTube, and our listeners can find us. I mean, us as in this podcast. Back next week, Jim will return, and we will be featuring Star Trek The Motion Picture, which, as of the time we're recording this, is available on Prime. And our second feature will be Theater of Blood, the Vincent Price horror comedy that I referred to in the past as being the superior version of the abominable Dr. Phibes. A couple of classics.
Not to be confused with Blood Theater by Rick Sloan.
Right, yeah, that's fair. Thanks for joining us, folks, and we'll catch you next time.
All right.